Christmas songs yesterday before
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
pre-show.
I think last time we did this, you were going to go to a doom metal show afterward, possibly. You were
Probably.
undecided. You were
Yeah,
undecided.
probably.
That sounds right.
I probably
Yeah.
didn't go.
You had,
like
to,
a
you had to
Chuck thing
explain
to
to me the difference between doom metal and other metals.
So now in this case, you're like, I've just gotten back.
Yeah.
It's over now.
Here I am.
11-month concert.
One song only. That's all.
Yeah, the price was beard, facial hair.
I thought you were going to one song from Rent, and I was getting pretty excited. I was like, I'm getting some Rent references over here?
No.
Oh, my.
Broadway?
No
Ooh.
Rent
Are we
reference.
clipping
Wait,
here?
there we go.
Charles, you
Where's that
sound
mic in?
solid.
Do I?
Man, I want a good voice.
Me too, dude.
I have to think about it.
I don't have that at all.
Once we actually start talking, it'll go away because I can't keep it up. But
Do you pick up tips from the voice actors? Like when you're there, like
a little thing,
You know
a little
what?
bit, but nothing that I would actually be able to like the thing they do for P-pops.
oh sure.
Oh, yeah. Getting off the...
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Being able to...
Getting off axis.
Mic technique, yeah.
Some stuff like that.
I understood none of those words.
That's all right.
It's really interesting because like you can tell which actors are used to doing what, because a lot of them are they're screen or stage or something, so sometimes they'll even start further back and like do something physical on their way up to the mic, and then just do the line right when they're at the mic to like get into it. Versus others who just like David Hayter, who's just like used to doing only voice stuff primarily. I mean, he did a little bit of other acting too, but his mostly voice acting. So he just like
it's
sits
all
right
just
here
reading.
and he's just let me just act completely without moving anything.
It's
Jennifer Hale, same way.
It's
like,
an actual art form. It really is.
It is.
I mean, like,
yeah, they're incredible to watch.
I also would like talent and the ability to speak into a microphone.
Hello.
With an amazing voice. Oh,
Have 12 ounces
Yeah.
of talent right here.
you and I without the good voices.
Yeah.
that's
Am I
what it
crackling?
is. It's,
That is a
that's this
that's a
guy.
dirty pot.
Dirty pop.
ACL. That's what it is. ACL. This board being used at ACL.
Yeah, I can see how that would cause problems.
You could use that like a
there we go.
soundboard.
I know that sound.
Yeah, I know that song.
Before we start, I got to tell you the most exciting news in the entire history of the Old Republic.
Charles and I equally looked at each other
We're
at the
live
same
now.
time. Are we
Or
live?
Just voices and hold music.
Then I can't say it yet.
Oh.
I can't say it.
Yep.
It's coming up.
Wait,
Okay.
mute him so we hear him in the room.
Oh, sidebar. Sidebar. Nice.
Did we just tell them some cheat codes? Up, down, down,
Yeah.
Right.
We did.
left, right.
Don't let everybody know.
So I have to refrain from cursing at this point?
No. The stream is marked explicit, dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It better be. I mean,
I'm still technically working, though, right?
Yeah.
I
technically.
like how Charles says yes, you
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
think we are.
Yes,
I think
you
we
are
are.
working.
You know.
This is the best. This is the best part of the work.
Yeah. People are like, you doing a podcast tonight? We're like, yeah, it's pretty great because we just go to a bar and then they do all of the work and we just get to drink and talk to them.
Right. Works for me, because I get to drink and talk. And plug some things in. That's the thing. There we are. Okay. Cool. All right. Are you pulling up Twitch there?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull it up so I could.
Do we have comments? Because I'm not seeing those. Is the chat room doing chat room things? There it is. I see you.
That's me. All right, so now you're getting it.
Are we on video now too?
No, not yet.
Just make continuous eye contact with the camera.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, should I just be staring at the camera?
Fierce gaze.
I asked that question, but I literally would do nothing different if the answer was yes or no. Like I don't know why I asked. As if suddenly I'm going to change my behavior because the camera's on.
I got some nose picking I need to do
Right.
before we really get this.
Yeah,
thing
you
rolling.
know.
I
Hold on.
have to remove my glasses. No one's ever
Right.
seen me with glasses on.
I think you're a different person.
Yeah.
People are saying sound is low. Let me bump this up.
Which-
No, I'm up all the way here. Let me tweak another thing. Hold on. Let me touch some knobs.
Explicit
Am I clipping?
content.
I sound like I'm clipping. Hello. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Whenever we would,
sounds
whenever
like
we
we're
first
all-
started recording, or whenever I first started going for the recording, and they had these giant soundboards with all these buttons and dials and stuff, I was like, this is like a Star Trek thing, right? Like those
Totally.
none of those actually do anything.
No,
like
yeah,
like
right,
maybe
right.
5% of those could possibly be useful,
Yep.
right?
But then I see someone like Chuck, and he's
yeah,
moving
he's
all
like, no,
the
he's literally
dials.
he's using all of them.
Yeah. But I'm like, is this when I was a child and I had like them cash like those cashier button like those cash
Yeah.
registers, and I'm like click 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 click, and the one button does something. It's like ding ding.
It makes you feel like
We're
you're
gonna be
doing
rich.
something.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. If I turn these dials, eventually sound will change.
All right. I'm at 100% on the laptop. Is that headphones or is that feeding back to the...
That's your machine coming back here.
Okay. Hold on. Got to tweak it.
It's so close you can taste
Got
it.
more juice now. All right. That should be a little hotter on there.
How about that?
On their side there. 1, 2, do, 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 do.
That's mute. Don't do that. Okay.
Somehow I can hear those people yelling, not through the microphone, but over my headphones.
Over the headset,
Over
yeah.
the headset. But they're not being picked up on the mics, which is amazing.
Who knew this place was so rowdy on a Thursday?
It's not rowdy. I mean,
It
okay,
could
maybe.
it could be rowdier.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's going to be a beer pong tournament behind us here. In
I'm
Yeah,
just
right.
waiting to see
Before you
someone
know
come
it.
spilling through the door behind you, so I'm just waiting for it.
Amazing. Well, normally, like, this place has got, like, a outside patio.
Right.
And just...
It is cold and
it's
windy
so
tonight,
freaking
so
cold outside. Nobody's outside.
Oh, if y'all need to adjust your headsets, you are 3 and 4.
I'm 3?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Sweet.
All right, hey y'all, how do we sound now? 1, 2, 3. I know there's no video. I'm not camera ready yet.
He's
the makeup people are still working
shy.
on
Yeah,
it.
he's sprucing himself up right now.
My
That's,
lighting's not right. It's just, I'm shy. I'm shy, damn it.
We're gonna bring in a face double. Need the face double.
Right on.
And then he's going to unface double. It's going to be like face off.
Yes.
Dude, yeah.
Right?
Did you see the deepfakes thing where they switched their faces?
Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
Just
great. All right.
Sound is fine. Sound
Rock.
good.
Okay, good. All right.
There's a little bit of clipping, so
Yeah, a little bit.
watch
of
your
clipping.
excitement.
So yeah.
Ah,
Well, we're
Minimal excitement.
monotone.
must
One
talk
tone.
softly, but aggressively at the same time.
Okay,
I think we're good.
the knobs have been tweaked.
Close enough. About as good as it's gonna get there.
All right.
Hey, all right.
Pre-show gold. All right.
Indeed.
All right.
It's amazing.
My mustache is touching the microphone.
Oh, I don't have a mustache for range indicator.
Can you do your?
I
do
know,
the-
I
neither
can
do
do
the
leave my
patch.
soul
anymore.
patch
Yep.
like this. Now I'm talking. I'll
So
wait
you're
for
all
that-
gonna
I'll-
hear lots of scritchy scratch.
I'll wait for the camera to be on to show what that looks like, I'm sure. No, because I don't want that'll be turned into a meme all over Reddit tomorrow. So I'm not
Too late.
showcase what that looks like.
All right. Let's add video.
What? Oh no! Here we go.
Yeah, y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Sure.
Smile pretty.
Whoops.
Whoops, that was not the right button.
I'm
Oh.
gonna stare at the camera till it's on, but I don't actually know when it's on.
Mixer. Why can't I?
It's
Hold on.
always on.
OBS is doing OBS things.
I've stopped staring.
There we are. There we are. There we
I
are.
gave up.
Wait.
Hey, we have video.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wait. I'm not. I don't have video.
Everybody, hard freeze.
We should have
Okay.
we should have coordinated that before, so everyone would start yelling, "The video's frozen!
Oh, damn it.
The video's frozen!"
There it is.
All right. Yeah, this is the thing. Holy shit. Welcome back, everybody. Woo. Yeah.
Did we? By the way, I was a little disappointed that we didn't officially title this the 3-Vey,
3-Vey.
as we discussed a
Three-Vey.
year ago.
We did 2-Vey.
Yeah, we
Yep.
did.
We were thinking Bouvet Trays.
Bouvet
Oh,
tray.
that's probably better.
Bouvet
Yeah.
tray.
That's probably better.
Ah.
Shouldn't it be Bouvet Trois?
Bouvet trois.
Bouvet Trois? That makes most sense.
Indeed.
If we're not going to confuse languages like 2-Vey, well, god damn it.
Tuve? Wait.
Too
Those-
fast, Tuve.
Oh,
Man,
damn it.
you should be a writer, dude. This is solid.
This is where the money comes from.
That's right.
These are the jokes,
We're just
gentlemen.
printing gold here tonight.
I should just quit now while I'm ahead. We're good.
We're good. Thanks, everybody, for
Yep,
showing up.
yep.
We'll catch you next time.
All right, good times.
11 months from now.
Hooray! I know, right? That's what's weird is after going back and looking at how long it's been since we did one of these, it's like, oh, has it really almost been a year?
If you asked me, I would have said like late summer we did this
It
last
seemed like
time.
summertime,
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because it's always summertime in Texas.
Yeah.
True
Yeah.
enough.
Well,
Always.
it was 98 degrees outside,
Yeah,
so.
it was probably
Could have
in
been any time
February.
Yeah.
between February and November.
All right. Well, should we make this thing official?
Sure.
Yeah. Make it official, Chuck.
Greetings and salutations, my fine Alder Public friends. Welcome to the Bad Feeling Buvette.
Welcome!
Bad Feeling Buvette. I am
horn.
Chuck.
I'm Brian.
And we are broadcasting live?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, actually
On the internet.
broadcasting live on the interwebs.
As
Hello,
far as we
Internet.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
According to the
Until
chat
we're
room,
not.
yeah, according to the chat room, we're actually live, so that's good. And we didn't discuss anything that we shouldn't have beforehand. So normally when we do the Twitch stuff, we are blasting out all kinds of weird random thoughts before the podcast goes on, and that's kind of frightening.
It usually gets pretty explicit pretty quick.
But it's
Yes.
Like browser history type things. Like,
Yeah,
oh.
I always
God.
look before I'm gonna
That was-
retweet that your podcast is live.
Yeah.
Last time I did it, you guys were in a very heated conversation on porn browsing history.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, that
and
was,
I was like,
yeah.
boy, am I glad I did not
Yeah.
send this out.
Well, but
Whoops.
I mean,
Not to derail it into that topic, because
Well,
I did retweet
we
it.
can go there.
well, let me go ahead and break that down for you.
So-
Okay. Since then, my browser history has been cleared, and
You
now
got to sanitize.
Well, no, actually, it doesn't matter. It's all good. SWTOR porn, dude. That's what we need.
After dark.
It's gonna happen. SWTOR after dark.
There was a nude mod.
Chemval.
back-
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right,
Ball
dude.
after dark.
Yes.
Chemval after
Yes.
dark.
He smells
Yes.
delicious.
We've now come full circle.
Yeah. So I didn't check it out. Is Chemval same gender romance as well as opposite gender romance?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
I tell you what. Okay, so first off, let's get show maintenance shit out of the way, just so
Okay.
we can knock that out.
Sure.
So, say what we're doing and what's actually going on here first.
What the hell are we doing here?
Before
Who
we
are
dive
you
down the
people?
wormhole
Yeah.
here,
Too late, man.
I know.
My mind's
no,
already in
No, I was already going.
got
I was.
claws and,
I already had a question about
bumps and
about
green.
well, because you said the same-sex romance thing, and I romanced Lana, and that's I just noticed because my daughter caught me playing the game last night.
Uh-oh.
And was like, and
Caught?
they're making
How's
out.
that?
We're making out a couple of times, like 2 or 3 times, like in the first, right when you start. And
Nice.
it was one of those whoa, okay, all right, cool. Yeah, all right, this is good, I guess. It's not a bad thing. I just noticed that it just seems sort of out of place all of a sudden. We're gonna go get back with the Empire, and now let's.
Yeah. Welcome
hey,
home.
Let's check out the sunset, baby.
Yeah.
What's up? How you doing? Sit down. Don't worry about it. We don't need to worry about those things that are blowing up over there. Come on over here with me. Sit
beautiful
down, chill
sunset
out. The
over
beautiful
Osis.
sunset. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Major Henri. That would be
So,
a fun one, too.
First
Sorry.
off,
All right. Never mind.
Bad Feeling Buvette. We are live in Austin, Texas, and we've got a couple of guests with us.
Yeah. Official
It should-
Bioware guest.
I
So let's
know.
introduce Mr. Eric Musco, community manager. Say hi.
Correct. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. And Charles Boyd, creative director.
Hello.
Hello.
Your
Greetings.
voice is so much better than mine.
I don't know about that.
So good.
We should let them do more
It-
talking.
It'll, like I
I
said
know,
earlier,
right?
it's going to sound real good until we start actually answering questions, and it's
Yeah.
just going to get worse.
It's gonna get
As
progressively
my
more
mind,
high pitched.
my mind no longer does the radio voice.
I have a glass of talent right here. So-
I speak Russian better the more I drink.
oh, right
That I
on.
need
We could
to
do
hear.
that.
That's like me in bowling. Like the
Yeah,
first
You
game,
speak
always
Russian
terrible.
better when you bowl.
Also, yes. Pick up more curse words.
There's still a medium. There's 3 beers and you're good, and then 4 or 5, then it's goes down.
Yeah. There's a brief up and then
exactly,
a deep dive.
Exactly. It's like, I'm loose, man. I'm loose, and now
Playing Counter Strike in college, yeah, it was like, this
Mhm.
1 or 2 matches, you're on
You're
top of the
golden.
world,
Yep,
and it's
yep.
And then that's me tanking. So, Operator 9 usually doesn't go too well because I hit my peak right before.
We need to put the more difficult bosses early
Yes.
for the drinkers.
Right,
Like, this is the
right, right.
drinkers up.
Second boss
Boss.
should be the most difficult, and
So,
then
the mechanics just get a little easier.
By the
So-
Spin
third
around in
boss,
a
it's like,
circle.
did you hit 4 abilities? Boss dies.
Done.
Boss just dies.
can you run into a wall reliably? I think I got this.
Repeat it over and over.
Is
and
your
over
auto run
again.
not stuck on? Great.
Win. All right. So thanks everybody for coming. We got a lot of people in the chat. We've got a thing. Want to introduce you to the Bad Feeling Buvette. So what we've done here is SWTOR has cantina events where they tour the country to all the different conventions and gaming, and they meet out with the fans and all the people that love SWTOR.
At one point, it was as frequent as once a month.
At
Yeah.
one point,
Yeah.
it was, we did I think 14 in 1 year was the
Damn.
most.
Record.
That's insane.
We're gonna never do that again.
Yeah, well, that goes
Please.
without saying.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Not because I
So-
don't love all of you, but because I'm.
It's
yeah.
nice to not be on a plane
It's
every
nice
once in a
to not
while.
be-
Right.
Correct. Yes.
And it's a lot easier when you can just show up to the bar,
Yes.
order a drink,
Yes.
sit down, and just BS with the
Yeah,
couple
we
of
just
dudes.
we just
here.
rolled down the road from our office and
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
here and
Right.
all
we're good to go.
So this is Internet Cantina.
Right.
So
Yeah.
welcome everybody.
Buvette.
Yeah.
not cantina.
Buvette. Oh, no, that's
It's a classy.
It should be trademarked or
Trademark
something.
TM. Sorry, you can't say that.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap about 5.10. We're going to talk about SWTOR the game things. I've got pages and pages, and I've got the documents right
know.
here to prove it.
Yes.
Binders full of questions.
Of
That was
questions.
easy, dude.
So
I wanted to say it. I'm glad you did.
we've got binders.
Binders full of questions.
Binders full of questions.
Nope. All right.
It's- Oh, let's see. Never mind.
Nope.
We won't go.
Nope.
I'm not going there. That's
Nope.
not this kind of podcast. No.
That's pre-show.
So Musco has this new flashing red light on his desk, and that is like the funniest thing that it's like the best prop for anything now.
yeah.
We just flip
Oh,
that
yeah?
light on whenever
So
something.
I'll give you guys this is SWTOR related. It starts SWTOR related, becomes very quickly not SWTOR related. Was if you go back in time to when we introduced Galactic Strongholds.
Okay.
I decorated a stronghold on stream, and I am awful at decorating strongholds, which you can learn if you watch this stream. And so on it, I grabbed the red mining light,
I remember this.
and I put it everywhere because I thought it was the funniest thing. So I
Right.
put it literally everywhere. And so the person who is the lead producer on the Galactic Strongholds thought it was so funny that after we launched, as a gift to me, he gave me a giant red light. Like it's basically the mining light.
Yeah.
He had it in his
So it
garage or
spins
something.
around,
Yeah.
Yeah,
flashes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so I've had it on my desk since then, so years. And I never turn it on. It's never plugged in. And so when I moved desks to where I am now, which is sitting right next to Charles, I plugged it in, and I made the joke going into BlizzCon that I was going to use, because I'm a huge Diablo fan, I was going to use it as the Diablo light. And obviously, BlizzCon went as Diablo did, and so we'll skip past that. So now I just use it for everything. And so we just use it for any random scenario that seems appropriate. I will, like, the light will just suddenly turn on, and like 4 or 5 people just start laughing, and they're like, "Why is the light on now?" That found a new exploit.
Because it's Hawaiian Shirt Day.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
on?
Yep. And it's really obnoxious because we sit in like it's a very bright, obnoxious light, and so you can't not see it from all over the
Awesome.
place. It's pretty
Now you
great.
just gotta rig up a sound to go with it. So
Yeah.
that-
Oh,
So
now you're
some
talking.
kind of noise goes off with it. at the
I
same
have a
time.
sound.
What?
The air horn, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, no, it's no.
talked
That's
about
like a
exactly-
war. It's got to be some kind of warning, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, something really obnoxious.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That could be
I'll
doable.
find something
Yeah,
for
we'll-
you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, let me know.
Hook us up.
Shoot it my way.
We'll get you going.
I'm an engineer by day. I can make that happen.
I love it.
Oh yeah. Every time we turn it on, it'll be like a train horn.
Yeah.
Oh no! We'll have it. It'll be you guys. It'll be one of you says red, and the other one says light, red, light, and it just looping
On repeat.
forever.
Yeah. And look, the kind of thing that people will find funny the first 2 times and then despise thereafter, that's my jam.
That's the
Yeah.
goal.
That's where
That's
I
the
live.
goal.
Exactly.
There's a valley, and then it goes back up.
Yeah.
It's funny
Yeah.
again.
You
like,
beat the
you know?
joke into the ground till it's dead and everyone hates it, and then over time they fall back in love with it again.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I know. I work in radio,
Yeah.
so like I
Yeah.
understand how
Yeah.
burnout
Oh.
works.
Speaking of Kaizakin,
Dude,
Yeah.
Yeah.
see?
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
unstoppable.
Someone somewhere's laughing because I've beaten it that far enough that it's funny again.
I don't know if anybody put together a Twitch stream
Bingo? Yeah.
Oh,
For this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
man.
The one thing I will say, just a little Bad Feeling exclusive here for you, is that when you create like Twitch stream bingo and it involves drinking, we know what it is going in, and so we're here for you.
Hooray!
That's true.
We're here for you. We always
we make
try.
an
You're here for the
'Cause-
intoxication.
because we think it's funny. Also, so we in the back of our heads make sure we hit it.
So we got to find a way to get the return on that so that we can see everybody drunk, like
Yeah.
drunk
Oh, yeah.
opping later on.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
we need
so
like
we
the
can see-
audience cam where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
can show.
right, totally.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to see that return
Yeah.
on our investment.
So we need to
of
have
time.
Yeah.
live stream viewing parties.
Yeah.
With alcohol.
Or whatever.
Every time Musco says epic.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, or I say yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The thing you should really use is me nodding my head, because I do it constantly,
That's a good
and
one.
I can't control it.
Yeah. It's really hard when you're sitting directly next to someone to figure out what am I supposed to do with myself
While they're talking.
right? Which my
And
version
so it's
is
like,
I just
oh,
say, yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yep.
You must be very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, indeed.
I'm
Because you don't want to.
interested in what
You
you're
don't want
saying right now.
Yeah, you don't want to look like the asshole
Yeah,
and like not
yeah.
be paying attention.
Well, because I mean, the truth is, like, there's no world I'm listening to a word Charles is saying. I'm reading chat or focusing on something else, and I'm like, at some point he's going to stop talking, and then I know I need to continue talking, and I'm sure Charles is doing the same thing when I'm talking, and so we're just like, yeah,
That thing that you
yeah,
said.
yeah.
You can probably, I don't remember which stream it was, but you can find one where someone in chat noticed it and said, "Why is that weird bearded dude nodding constantly?" And you can then see you can figure out the delay between when we see chat and when the video goes, because you
Right.
can see my head just stop completely, just and try to maintain.
Nice.
Doesn't work.
They
So.
called you the weird bearded dude?
They called me something
Out of
Yeah,
all
right.
the people that have
negative.
beards?
I don't remember what it was, but
All right, well, let's talk about 5.10. That's the SWTOR thing that
It is.
happened this week.
big-
Congratulations.
the new hotness.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
dude.
Thank you.
5.10 is after 5.9.
Correct.
Not to be confused with 5.1.0.
Right. That was also a thing.
That was a while back.
Yeah.
So.
So,
Gotta make sure
Osis, the new place, the new storyline. We've split off Jedi or Sith and Republic again,
Yep.
which a lot of people have been asking for. So, what's that like from y'all's end to go from the single storyline of the Alliance and everything? What's it like to break those off and to go to diverge again?
I mean, obviously, it's dramatically harder. It's way more work to do two than one. But we think it's worth it, right? Like it was always one of my favorite things to do as a writer and a creator, right? To kind of show the story from different angles, to show different characters having reactions to some of the same stuff, different characters having different things that they can do to change and influence events based on their backstory or their faction or what have you, right? Like that's part of the big fun of this game, is that you are a different kind of character. You come from a different backstory. You have a different loyalties. And you're kind of coming at the story from those angles, and letting all of that drive your character through it. So being able to have two separate storylines was something that was, it was a top goal of mine coming out of the Eternal Throne kind of era and moving into the new one.
Does it come directly like from where you want it to go, or
Mhm.
is that like were people asking for that kind of thing?
I mean,
They wanted
both,
it to
right?
Go back.
Right. It was both, right? I think the storyline of Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne really kind of necessitated the one kind of, right?
yeah, I
like
mean,
it just made sense that
yeah,
way, right?
yeah.
And then as we kind of wrapped that up, we said, well, what do we want to do next? And I wanted to do this, and fortunately a whole bunch of people online also wanted to do this, so everything kind of clicked together.
So it's sort of,
And
I mean, it's sort
yeah.
of a return to form in the
It
first
is,
place.
yeah. And so, it's something that I felt like we hadn't touched in so long now that it could feel fresh. We could come at it from a new angle. We could introduce some new characters, bring back some old ones, and make it feel both fun and classic, but also new and a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So something that you introduced with this one was the option to be a saboteur
Right,
or a loyalist.
right.
And are we going to see that going forward?
Absolutely.
Never
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
it's over. The next update, they find out
Done.
what you did, and it's over.
Yeah.
They
Just
kill
firing
you.
They
squad.
kill you?
Firing
You're-
squad.
This leads to a permanent deletion of your character.
God damn it.
Yeah, it actually deletes the game off your hard drive.
This is how we end it. There, yeah.
No,
Story
it's absolutely something we want to carry going forward, right? Because that's definitely one aspect of that Fallen Empire Eternal Throne kind of period that really needed to be carried forward, right? Was that your character could kind of start making relationships across those faction lines and start really expressing, hey, I really wanted to do this. Of course, agents were able to do this all along.
Yeah, I was going to say
they've had
that's-
that little.
Yeah,
They've had that in
going
their
down
little
that
back pocket
story
for a long
road.
time,
Yeah,
but no one else got to have that fun. So we wanted to kind of bring that out into the forefront a little bit. But like we had said on the stream a while back, this is just kind of the very beginning of it, right? Like your first time as a saboteur or whatever, it's going to be small stuff. You don't want to show up to your first mission after you've been gone for however many years, and suddenly it all goes to hell.
Wild card, bitches.
Oh, I wonder who could possibly be responsible for this. Maybe it's the new person that we just brought back
It
under
is the
suspicious
Star Wars
circumstances.
universe, though, so
Yeah.
you could get away with that, and it'd be fine. It would totally be fine.
Maybe.
You
But
know.
obviously those will get a little bigger as we go
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I want to start. In this one, it was sort of at the very beginning. You say, "I'm going to be a loyalist. I'm going to be a saboteur," and
Right.
then your actions are just decided by that, right? Like
Yeah.
it happens automatically. And so as we move forward, I want to hopefully make that introduce some larger choices, some like much more devious, negative stuff you can do, and but make those actual choice points, right? Like say, whoa, well, I signed up to do this, but well, not that. Like, whoa, that's a little too
Okay.
far.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I want it to go. I want to kind of build it up to that point and maybe make people question I don't know if we would then let you switch back
Oh,
again.
yeah.
Maybe we'll see. But
mean,
if we can make it messed up enough that you're like, oh man, did I take it this far?
You're
I don't
gonna
know.
Are you going to
I
kill
really
the
question
Are you going to
myself.
kill the younglings?
I mean, you could potentially take it that far.
Yeah.
I mean, when
I
it
think
gets
since
down
we
to it.
release in Germany, we're not allowed to kill younglings.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Oh.
I'd have to double check the SRB stuff, but something akin to that.
Well,
I don't know if you've seen what younglings look like in our game, but
Yeah,
that
I would kill them.
killing-
Their
yeah.
children are creepy.
there's a reason you don't see them much.
They're just kind of scaled down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Whoa.
Yeah, it's just a water mission on Nar or something. It's the only.
There's a couple on Coruscant and
Yeah.
a couple on Ord Mantell, and I think that might be it.
There's got to be one on ship. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe
I
Nar?
remember. I
I don't
remember
know.
something involving water.
Yeah, it was the kids on Coruscant. I
Yeah,
think.
okay, it's Coruscant.
Yeah.
Um,
I think someone on chat will correct me shortly.
Right.
Right. So yeah, and speaking of which, I already feel bad because I ran through it first time as an Imperial SWTOR.
Right.
Right. And I really like the new character, Major Henri. It's like, God damn it! Like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm gonna break your shit. Like, I'm sorry.
But did you still flirt with her?
No, because my bounty hunters, holds the torch for Mako.
Yeah,
100%.
okay. Yeah.
So, for all these years.
Come on, man.
Come on, dude. That's my dude. Like,
It doesn't matter. That's the whole. You're
his heart only beats
you're,
for one.
You're sabotaging your relationship at the same time.
No,
bro.
dude. She's
It's
coming with
okay.
me on
That's
this.
just part of the sabotage because you're
Yeah,
bringing
exactly.
her up just to be like, I'm taken, by the way.
You don't.
Oh.
Right? Like you're the
Oh.
saboteur.
That's how you
Betrayer.
break morale.
Oh, damn.
So far, my contributions to this stream have been killing younglings and messages. I should just stop talking. Is what I should do.
Well, here, Musco. Let's add you.
Redeem me.
5.10 is a thing. Will there be more 5. something before we get to 6.0? So how much more of this story are we going to get to before another expansion comes out?
So I feel like there's a two-parter in that question, which is one, is there more story before an expansion? And two, is there more 5.10s before an expansion?
Right.
I'll let Charles answer the story part if he wants to.
Yeah, so still kind of working that out. I wouldn't say there's going to be a ton of story before we would get to some kind of expansion, like really major thing, but I'm hoping to do at least a little bit before we do. But since I don't have it like nailed down in stone, that's really mixing metaphors, but you know what I mean. I don't want to guarantee it, but my goal would be to do a little bit more before we get to that full storyline.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for 5.10, yes, there will be more 5.10s, maybe more than one, between now and a possible expansion. Obviously, we're not talking timing. Although I will say, 6.0 is not coming in 2018, so you can take that with you.
Oh,
But
the
yeah,
next
so
17 days are going to be rough.
yeah,
boy.
but yeah, so we can probably
Jeez.
talk a little bit about 5.10.1 if you guys want
Yeah.
to.
That's a
Yeah.
thing?
So
It
you
is.
will theoretically be able to play something from 5.10.1 possibly next week, actually on
Oh.
PTS.
On
Oh.
PTS.
Okay.
Yep. And for the savvy among you, you may have already figured out what it is, which is in your lockouts. And I don't know if it's actually in 5.10, but it was definitely on PTS. You could have found what is it? Oh my God, what is the name of it? Do
The
you remember?
Geonosian Queen?
The Geonosian Queen showing up in your lockouts. That is a world boss on Osis.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
And that'll be on PTS.
Yeah, well,
Prob-
it's, I guess more of a lair
soon.
boss, right?
Lair
Because
boss,
it's in
yeah.
an instance.
Yeah,
but
sorry. Yeah, it is actually a fully
Okay.
instance encounter. Yep.
So
Yeah.
instance like Taboros or the
Exactly,
the,
yeah.
the
Exactly.
colossal
Golden
monolith.
Fury.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of cool drops in 5.10, like the weapon tuning.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got planned for the Geonosian Queen?
Oh, good question.
Oh, so I think it's technically still in the works, so I don't quite want to commit to it, but
Okay.
what we've got in mind would fit very reasonably with that encounter. And you're fighting a Geonosian Queen, so I'll leave the hint there.
Okay.
Wings of the Geonosian Queen.
They're just like really poorly duct
Yeah.
taped. They're just on some sticks.
and I know this answer is about to give gasoline to a fire, but the masterwork weapons will be gotten from that layer boss.
Okay. Very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know gearing's can be
Gearing
sensitive.
is a thing. Well,
I
let's
know gearing is sensitive, but
okay. Well, let's talk about gearing then.
Yeah.
Let's fucking rip that Band-Aid off.
You want to go there? You want to go there right now?
That was not my segue, dude.
I know
He,
it wasn't.
he
That's my
brought it
fault.
up.
Let's do it, man. Whatever.
All
Let's
right.
dive right in.
So what's the thinking on the original PTS implementation? You could buy the 258s right out with
Mhm.
the Masterwork crystals, and now you need the shells. So what's the thinking in that extra step there?
yeah. You want to answer this?
I can answer some of it, and then you can jump in once I misremember something.
Yep,
How's
you
that?
got it. Go for it. This is one of those rare cases, by the way, where I might actually know more than Charles.
There's
because
a
I
good
was
chance.
so
Yeah.
integrally
Yeah.
involved in this.
Yeah. Which I think we'll come to, I think, your ultimate criticism, which is that it's kind of complicated, which we agree with. And
There is
hope
some
to fix long term, but it's in this time frame that just wasn't going to be a thing.
Yeah.
But coming back to your original question, part of the issue was that the 252 gear was more or less useless, right?
Okay.
Like it was there, but there was no reason to use it in the progression of the gear. Except it was useful for the ops bosses, the master mode, Gods from Machine.
Sure.
They actually did account for it in that, which there was a miscommunication. So we needed to make sure that there was a reason to get it, and that it was more obtainable than it was before, so that it would kind of fit into that progression, so that those raiders would have something to kind of get them through that master mode until they got to the 258. So that was the reason why we made those shifts at the highest level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is Master Mode Gods tuned for 252 or is it tuned for 258?
Probably you're going to be a lot better off in 258, obviously, but you're getting that like minimal competence, that minimal starting to get into that op. 252 is going to give you a much better chance than what was it, 248 before that, right?
Okay.
So it was a helpful way to get those operations players a little bit further, make them feel like they were actually able to progress a little better, and it wasn't just a gear wall that they were up against, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything Charles just said is correct, by the way.
The Musco
I didn't have
seal
to-
of approval.
I made it. I made it. I made it through a
didn't have to
question
correct
about
that.
gear.
I didn't have to correct anything. That was spot on.
Well, it is factually correct to what we did. Now, whether players feel that is correct,
Correct.
is entirely up to y'all.
Yes.
Fair enough. So one of the biggest, well, I don't want to say controversies, but one of the biggest points of contention is the PvP versus PvE
Absolutely.
gearing, right? And the way that you introduced
It's
the
not
new
contentious. I don't know what you're talking about.
the
PvPers are
harmonious-
never contentious about anything.
the harmonious discussion about
There you
PvP
go.
gearing, requiring the new currency, the Masterwork crystals.
Yeah.
There's no way to acquire those doing just unranked war zones.
Correct.
So
Incorrect.
Wait. Oh, shoo.
Partially
Twist.
correct.
you can do the one-time
wait,
limited mission
There's
to
Hang
get
on.
eight medals in a war zone. You get one crystal.
So there's
in
two,
a week.
There's two technical ways. So I will say you are 100% correct. It is definitely very suboptimal to do it this way.
Okay.
But there's two ways you can do it. So one of the 4 weekly missions, as you described, will give you
Right.
one Masterwork crystal,
Right.
not a lot. 2 is unassembled components can be turned in for up to 2 crystals per week per character. So
Right.
that's one
True.
piece of gear, very expensive. It's 15. I think it's 1,500.
Definitely, like you said,
Right.
definitely not the optimal.
Yeah,
route.
unassembled components. And of course,
but you
there-
still need the reputation,
you would need the reputation. But reputation comes from.
the ranked weekly.
Oh, does it not come on? I thought it's on the unranked weeklies also.
I don't know that it is.
Don't think it
Interesting.
is.
We can
I
double
think-
check that.
I will
think we
double check that
did.
because I think I thought it was supposed to be. Don't quote me on that because I think the intention was that was a mechanism for all PvPers to get there. So if rep isn't on both, let me know. I'll check.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It may be intended, but I'll check.
Okay. Well, what I'll say is that the path to 252 and 258 is a lot more graceful for PvE players that are doing dailies,
Well, and
that are
that-
doing
and-
flashpoints
Yeah.
and ops.
Yeah.
And that comparison had always been made that you want sort of things that have been kind of balanced in that respect, where if you're going to do the access is there for PvPers and PvEers if you put in the time, right?
Right,
So
right.
your time investment into it, you'll wind up with sort of the similar result,
Mhm.
you know, whatever that end result is.
Yeah.
And
Right now, it doesn't feel that way.
yeah, it doesn't seem
Yeah.
to be that way.
Yeah.
Or at least, trying to break into it.
Right.
So
to
one of the things that's
starting out.
interesting in this case that we broke the rule a little bit on is in most cases what you're describing is correct where we try to compare. So example, we look at ranked as more end game content to compare it against like operations. So we try to keep those things equal. And if you look, those things are somewhat relatively equal actually of like ranked versus if you're doing ops, like
You mean
world.
time investment?
Yeah, like world bosses versus ranked PvP, like that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
those tracks are remotely even. Where it breaks is OSIS. We broke the rule, but that is completely by design because we want to incentivize people to go to OSIS because that's the new content.
makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
And so there is a little bit of weirdness in there because we are absolutely over incentivizing PvE because of OSIS, but it also doesn't take.
But it's
away
also
from
like the
fact-
lowest investment PvE version. It's not just
It's dailies.
right,
and
right.
storage.
Which,
yeah.
but admittedly, like some players are like, no, I just don't even want to touch it,
Yeah.
and that is something we struggle with as a team, right? Is like, but we have all this stuff in the game, and we kind of want to get people to try other things,
Well,
not
just like everything
be
else, you
super
can't-
specialized.
yeah, and you can't
but,
cater to every
Sure, but-
individual.
But to your
player.
point earlier, right? Like we want to make that feeling of balance,
Yeah,
right? And so
totally.
that is, like I said, right now we feel like
and make it accessible and
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
ability to get there at
Right,
some point
right.
because whether it's bolster and PvP, and you don't have to worry about it like right away.
Yeah.
Right.
But somebody inevitably is already
Someone's
going
gonna
to
be a little bit
set
that
of
extra little bit.
258s right now
Yeah.
and kicking somebody's ass in PvP.
Yeah.
you
I
know,
will tell you though, I'd be pretty excited if someone's in full 258s because that would just defeat every argument that's been on the internet, right? Like if someone's gotten 258 that fast, then it's clearly not that slow.
Yeah, except for there's a couple of bugs in there, so we don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
they got those
Right.
258s.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, if you got full
So,
258,
you know, we don't know
email
how that
me
happened.
because what?
Yeah.
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 It's like,
We
hey,
promise we will not punish you.
Hey,
Yeah.
buddy, what's going
in
on?
2 days,
Just
man.
want to know what you were doing there, buddy.
Yeah.
How's that? Oh, that's a
We're
great
just-
set of gear you got
Where'd
there.
you get that
Yeah.
main hand, bro?
That's neat.
And it is worth mentioning because it's something we've talked about a lot in the past too, right? Like the removal of expertise makes gearing PvP versus PvE very complicated for us to
yeah,
ever try to find an equal balance,
Yeah,
and that's something
totally.
we can try to address in the future in something a much larger update when we redo if we take a look at itemization or something. And bolster also gets very complicated, and we talked a lot about this during the PTS cycle of like if we put bolster to 258, it solves all these problems.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it also means there's no progression at all for PvPers. And if in the future we want to reintroduce something like an expertise or a PvP stat, now we have to take away bolster, putting you to the max item rating. And now we've taken something away that players are accustomed to. So, like, there's a lot of really hard.
But that goes
But
back
let's-
to that
and we-
base argument about PvP in that, like, it's a progression-based
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah, does
it's like,
PvP
I don't know.
progression have to be stats?
Right.
Can it be cosmetics?
Sure.
Right. And that's something
Instead.
we're definitely talking
Yeah.
about
And-
on the team,
and-
like as we
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, you got, and like this is the thing that we always try to highlight, right? Like when we have these conversations and people bring up things like that, you're asking the exact right questions, and those are the things we're asking ourselves too. Like, admittedly,
He's
we
agreeing
paint-
with us to diffuse
Yeah.
what
No,
we're
I
actually
see what
yeah,
you're
he's
doing.
he's
No,
doing.
because
I know this tactic. I
my
know what's
boss
going on
does
right
this all
now.
the
because
time.
we painted ourselves in the corner by getting rid of expertise,
I
right?
hear what
Like,
you're saying right now.
Yeah,
and
we're not hiding.
I agree with
I'm
you.
hearing you and
But
I'm
we're gonna
feeling
do
it.
something
Yeah.
different.
I feel your argument. I understand
I'm gonna
what
have
you're
a
trying to
sip
say
of
to
my
me
alcohol,
right now.
Chuck.
But I know
No, but legit,
I know
like-
these tactics,
Time
man.
for
Well,
some
Whatever.
shots.
legitimately, right? Like,
I've taken that
Obviously-
psychology class too.
but obviously, like, it's our position that there should be some kind of progression in
Yeah.
PvP, right?
No, I
Right.
mean,
But
and it makes sense.
I think we would be flexible on what that is. So if
Mm.
players have really strong ideas about other things, besides stats, so such as cosmetics,
Yeah.
what kinds of cosmetics, what is
well,
where
and everybody
do you
was-
want it to be a special, like it only shows when I'm in a war zone? Is it something that is a special only usable outside of war? What? There's
Right.
all sorts of angles and ideas, and I would love to hear thoughts on that, right?
We
'Cause
have some thoughts.
I am not a hardcore PvP player,
Right.
and so I'm not going to maybe
No,
not
fair
think
enough.
of that amazing
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear what players want to do, because I think certainly over the last year or so, many of our successes have been because we listened to what players wanted, if
Mhm.
anything, right? So that's what I want to do here too.
Okay. PvP.
How you like that flipping the answer?
Yeah.
around?
Yeah, no, that's better. for the
Charles
answer
got
than
my
his,
back.
You know.
Yeah. We want all the things. That's what they say. So let's talk about PvP. You now need 50 losses to get your ranked weekly.
Yep.
Why?
Brutal.
Like, I have a hard time doing 20 losses.
Yeah. So here's the long answer. I mean, maybe it's not that long. So there was definite concerns from the players and in data that we saw of people going into ranked, doing nothing, and just to try to fulfill those ranked PvP missions.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not okay. We need a way to fix that. And granted, we do a lot of checks against people. People who just go into ranked and do nothing. Believe me, their accounts are being taken care of, and we're removing them from the game so that they do that less. But that's different than people who are just either really bad at the game or putting in low effort. It's a lot harder to track them necessarily. And so we needed a way to stop that behavior from happening. And really the only way to do it is to really, really focus on disincentivizing losses a little bit more. In a world where our matchmaking is doing everything it's supposed to, and you're winning and losing about 50% of the time, we ended up extending it by about 1 or 2 matches overall, which the team felt was a players may disagree, but the team felt it was kind of a good compromise to try to stop that behavior from happening. And it's something we will continue to monitor 100% in data to see, did we go too far? Is this way too painful now? And we'll bring
Do
it
you
back.
think that that's going to decrease the amount of solo ranked players, though? Because like that's a tough thing to do is to pug a 4-man group and
Yeah.
be successful.
Right.
So I mean, like, if I didn't have an incentive to do it in the first place,
Yeah.
at least to get 10 losses or
Yeah.
20 losses, now it's like even really
Yeah.
tougher.
Yeah.
I mean, the
as
hope
a
is
solo.
we'll reduce the amount of players being trolls in PvP. That would be the goal, right? I mean, ultimately, we
Good
absolutely
luck with that.
we absolutely don't want less people in PvP, but we want less people who aren't participating or actually trying to PvP.
Well, and that's
Right.
what I mean. Time will tell, I guess, to see how that's going to pan out. But I'd be curious to see if that drops like solo rank queuing as far as that's concerned.
I mean, there's a real easy way to check, right? Look for a couple updates in the future. Did we change what's required for that mission?
right.
Fair
If
enough.
you see it
Well,
change,
the other
it
way,
didn't work.
the other would
we
be
thought of it.
that if that this. But do you get that back if you return it to that norm? You know,
Right.
like if it's a discouragement, now it's just not part of my wheelhouse of what I do normally anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I take that out of my queue, and now I don't go back and play ranked solo anymore.
I don't imagine that one single mission is going to have that big of an impact on population in PvP.
Except for that's like the one mission that's going to get you the gear.
That's true.
So like that's the
true.
thing is like
Yep.
that's.
Yep. But to
you
be
know.
fair, like that's the reason that we did it to that mission is because the people who are most likely doing nothing in PvP are doing it just
to get the
that,
gear.
just to get that gear.
But that's not the easiest way to get the gear. So
Right.
why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense because
Right.
if that's the way, if that's the reason why you're doing it, that would be like the hardest way to do it.
Yep. But it was
So-
still the behavior was still happening, right? I mean, if you guys
Right.
PvP,
True.
you've seen it,
Yeah.
right? So hopefully this would curb it. And
Well,
again, you're
it
asking the right questions.
it was
we
still
just need to
happening.
watch.
It was still happening until this. Now,
Right.
I guess we don't. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that happens, right? I mean, like, and Charles can maybe speak to some of that too, right? Like, we make changes sometimes, and we don't have. We talked about this a little bit before we started the stream about Conquest, and I'm sure we'll come back to that, right? Of like making changes based on data that we're seeing that we think are the right decisions.
Yeah.
And we just keep watching data. If the data comes back that we were right, it stays as is.
Well,
If it's
and
wrong, we keep adjusting.
It's a living universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's gonna. It can't ever be static. You
Right.
know, it's changing as you go.
Yeah.
So that's. I just thought that was a. When I see the number 50, it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
That,
right,
that's
fine.
a bit of a kick in the dick because I've had the same ranked weekly mission for a while.
But the other like the good result that could
But
happen out of that is
you're
that
right.
you get more people that group up together and try to make more teams out of it and make it valid as far as like try to build the right kind of team.
Or
So
win,
I
or
think-
win trade, and then we'll come for you too.
Well,
Oh,
because
shit.
Yeah.
well, I'd just be afraid of like you know, if you start to discourage solo pug groups, or if you get smaller queues pops out of it, then your balance goes way out of whack because then your matchmaking goes to shit.
Right. It has to give up on.
Yeah,
getting a
you've
balance
got to
right.
you've got to have players in there to get everything balanced right, or your time limit goes out and you got 4 healers and nobody
Right.
dies. So
That happens. That happens.
But you know, I mean,
Well, I'd be curious to follow up on it.
yeah, no
you know,
kidding. Like
after a
that's
little
one
while.
I want to see how that one pans out
Sure.
All right.
for sure.
So you said Conquest.
Ha.
Dude, he's just giving us all the
Yeah, man.
all the
Yeah.
turning points.
We
I'm
need
not
to-
a shill, I swear.
we gotta hire Musco.
He's
for
the audience
podcast,
plant.
You
I
thought
tell
I was the
what.
Bioware show, but I'm the Bad Feeling show.
No,
Little
see,
did
he's
you
like,
know.
okay, we
Frickin'
got to be
hired.
done by 8:00. Okay, all right, let's get through this.
we got
Conquest.
pizza. We got pizza rolls. Let's go.
Hell
What's
yeah.
the next topic?
I didn't even give him show notes. I don't have show notes.
What are those?
So let's talk about Conquest. So obviously now Conquest is tied to guild leveling, unlocking rooms on the guild ship, adding guild perks, stuff like that. But it looks like Conquest is still skewed towards the bigger guilds, right? Especially on my home server, Starforge, the only one of 3 guilds will ever capture a planet, and they trade off large, medium, and small planets. So it's not competitive because unless
Smart.
you're in that guild, you don't win a planet. But it's also, it seems anybody that wants to do Conquest joins into those guilds to win the first place. So all your small and medium guilds really are unable to compete, and at the same time they're forced to participate because they want to do all the guild things for leveling and for perks and that
Right.
stuff. So is there some sort of compromise there to make we're never going to catch up with the large guilds, get that, but is there some sort of way to make it more accessible for the small and medium guilds who still want to be able to do all the guild leveling things?
So, question back to you guys. Do you look at placing first place as the only success criteria for conquests?
No, but it would be nice to have that option.
Okay,
Like
yeah,
if we all try
okay.
really hard and pull together,
Yeah.
it'd be great to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that.
okay.
Right. Because obviously you can progress almost entirely, if not entirely. Am I forgetting something?
Yeah,
Like
just-
you don't have to be first at all
Yeah.
to get
No.
your guild
Yeah.
levels and all that. Like I'm
But
not saying you're wrong to want to. Like
But
that's
you do
totally
need
legit.
you do need the encryptions,
Mm.
which you need to be top 10, right?
Correct.
So if you can't make the top 10,
Then
you
you're
can't unlock your
missing
guild
out.
ship. You can't get the guild perks.
So it's time to start working with other guilds to come together into large guilds. What you need to do, you need to create a larger community
Like a guild alliance?
band together under one.
I know, we need
Has
the
a
AIE
Bad Feeling
kids
banner
to carry us.
So has a bad feel, or we love Twi'leks and Spice. We need a band together
Right.
and bring all the smalls together and rise into a rebellion that will just take out the large guilds on the list.
Do it.
That's how we got to do it.
Yeah.
That's
so,
what we got to do.
So here's some of the tricky part of what the and again, Charles, correct me if any of the stuff that I'm spewing is not correct. One of the challenges that exist is we need to find a way to make sure that small, medium, guilds of all size, because size doesn't really matter. What matters is the size of participation.
I've heard that before.
No, what matters is the size of participation is what actually matters. But if you have
may have also
1,000
heard
people,
before.
but there's only 4 people actually doing anything,
Fair enough.
So if you have a guild that is extremely active and they're participating a lot, right? And if you've coordinated 900 people working towards an objective, like you should probably win over 7 people coordinating objective, right? Like that's
Sure.
substantially harder. And so we need to make sure that we don't take the ability away for large guilds to be successful because of what they're doing, which is gathering large groups of people for a singular objective. And doing the thing.
the objectives.
But then we also need to make sure that the guild that's you and 4 of your friends isn't going, well, I'm literally never going to touch this system because I'm never going to accomplish anything.
Right.
And so I think places like we made a bunch of changes back when we did the first big round of Conquest revamp to try to remove some of the stuff out of winning and top 10 and some of those things just to try to avoid some of those. But other places where people see, like example, like I'm trying to remember, I thought you get them if you just complete your yield, but maybe it is just top 10.
Yeah.
no, somebody else I think said that in chat too. That
It's just the
if you
yield.
complete your yield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the goal was to make that, being in the top has some obviously material benefits, but it's mostly peacocking, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
we're awesome.
Yeah,
That
and-
was philosophically our goal. Now, if we haven't met that, totally let us
Yeah,
hit
and-
us with it.
Exactly. That's the exact point. Yeah. So if there's some more things that we can do to ensure that you can still compete and do all of the things that you want to functionally do just by doing your thing, let us know. If it's something where like I want my 7-person guild to be able to reach the top of the conquest leaderboards,
Good luck.
like that's a very hard thing for us to manage around. And like we explored crazy options. The same stuff players brought up when we talked about the conquest revamp of like, what if you can't go for a small yield if you're more than 15 members, right? And that creates, I won't go down that rabbit hole. We talked about all those options. And so if someone has, like if people have creative ideas on ways that we can solve some of those problems of small versus large guilds, please let us know.
Something that comes up a lot is opening up more than 3 planets a week.
Mm-hmm.
Is that doable? Or another thing is Total Galactic War, where they're all open.
Yeah.
And that's happened once this calendar year.
Yeah.
Could that happen more often?
Yeah. Those are certainly both things that could happen.
Yep.
We'd
Okay.
have to, yeah. But obviously, we'd have to dig into it a little bit.
Yep.
Don't
Those
have,
are all fair
I-
points,
I-
yep.
Yeah.
I see a lot of nodding and smiling.
No,
Yeah,
there was a lot of discussion that happened, right? So it's hard to recall exactly where
Yeah.
we landed on any of those particular.
Yeah,
I apologize.
So
if I didn't know off the
some
top
of it
my
I know
head.
was like trying to increase the band of total guilds being like there's a lot of guilds. There's a fair number of guilds who care a lot about conquest, but not a lot of guilds that care at all about conquest. And so the first conquest revamp, when we tried to make things a lot easier to get into, and now tying it into things like guild leveling. If we have what we don't want is we don't want to have 10 planets you can conquer and one of the planets has 3 people going for it, right? Like we want to
that was called Jung Ma.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
every week.
we want a real competition on it. And so now that we have way more guilds participating in conquests, now I think we have way more
maybe
viability.
that's legit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I mean, yeah, exactly. It's because it actually has something. It's worth. You've got something tangible to
Right.
to attach it
Yeah.
to. You know,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
an actual perk.
Yeah. I competed and beat this planet, and it was just me competing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there was one dude on the final days of Jung Ma that he knocked them all out just solo.
Love it.
It was kind of
Whoever you are out there, you're
It's
a
like that
champion.
Well
is
done.
impressive.
Well done.
That's amazing.
He's got that title too.
right.
right. But you touched off something in my brain when you said guilds banding together. What happened to guild heraldry? Is that still going
It's
to be
coming.
a thing? Okay.
It's coming. I don't know that it's coming in 5.10.1, but it is coming. It is in progress. There were meetings about it today, in fact.
Okay.
All right,
It's
all
really cool. We're very excited about it, and we really wanted to get it in with this update. We didn't feel like it was quite there yet. So.
Okay. Can you cue us into a little bit how's that going to work functionally?
Yeah, so obviously it's not going to be like a free draw, whatever you want, or upload
No.
your own
Aw.
Can't
you know,
draw
image
a
file. 'Cause
Sarlacc
You
you
and
can
a-
imagine how that might not go well. But it
That's
is
some
you know,
ideas.
yeah, it's like a lot of combinations of basic shapes, colors, different stuff that you can kind of combine and recombine to get a lot of different combinations and create your own.
Okay.
feel.
And what will that look like in the game when I'm out in the world?
Mhm.
How will that look if I look at another character or what's that?
Ooh, that's a good question. So
I don't know. Do we want to talk about it?
I think at our
So I know
basics,
some of it's still coming together.
yeah,
right?
Okay.
at our basics, I can say that it will show up like in your like guild inspect and stuff like that, so people will know that.
Mhm.
Any other thing you can imagine it affecting is being talked about, but I don't think we're ready to really talk
Commit
any
fully
specifically
to it
on
yet.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apologies.
Because
yeah.
I mean, sky's the limit really, and we're still exploring a lot of it. So
Fair enough. Okay.
we're talking about some
Understandable.
super cool stuff. Though.
Coming soon.
Well,
though,
because
right?
also,
Hopefully it
well,
comes together.
and two, you also don't want to like make any promises you can't keep
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
Totally understandable.
That's understandable.
But yeah,
Good
once
times.
you
Yeah.
have it, and again, that's the same kind of thing where we might expand on it over time, right? Like it might come out and you can put it in
Yeah.
these places, and then we add a few more places and a few more places.
And add like a tuning to it, so it's got lightning and shit
Then
on
it
it.
glows and yeah.
I'll tell
Got
you my
fire on it.
I'll tell you my crazy one that we're definitely not going to do when it launches, but that I would love to do would be you know how there were samurai would have those giant flags on their back, some certain
Yeah.
like having like a holographic like this is my guild flag and it just projects over
Nice.
your head when you're
Yeah,
running
yeah.
around.
That'd be
Like
kinda
that, that's a little ludicrous. But
That'd be a lot of fun.
it'd
though.
probably get real ugly on the fleet, but
Right, they just be like glowing everywhere.
it
It looks like
dude,
Nar Shaddaa all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time.
Make
What's
people
going
easy to
on
find
now?
in PvP though. There he
Right.
goes.
so just to give a level of that's at the far end of the crazy scale of what
Yeah,
we
you
might
have to
do
make
with
it
Right
so that
on.
you can still see it when they're stealth, though. That's
Right.
you know, so
Yeah.
if
It's
that-
50% opaque when they're
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
you
It's
know,
like,
or transparent rather.
son
Yeah.
of a bitch.
Oh, and can I put the marker down so like Grob Thok has my flag on him when I spawn? That would be rad.
Nice.
So other things that you probably can't talk about that are coming up. So will there be another level of gear with 6.0?
With 6.0?
I
Or
mean,
will there be another
well,
level of
dude,
gear before
I think
6.0?
They haven't even. There's no answer, like definitive answer. If there's even a 6.0 yet. at
These
this
are the
point, man.
questions.
yeah.
Ah,
I mean,
dude, you
let
gotta
me
skip those
let's talk in theoreticals. Hypothetically, if you did an expansion, you're probably
You're
going to
gonna
add
have a
some
new thing,
levels.
yeah.
If you're going to add levels, you're going to add gear.
Okay,
Seems like a safe bet.
fair enough.
Yeah.
More abilities.
Can't confirm or
presumably,
deny.
right?
Yeah. Seems
Kotaku
reasonable.
confirms
These are the
that
lo-
Charles
logical
Boyd
conclusions.
says there will be a new level expansion.
Charles
with,
Boyd says seems reasonable.
Should we do like anything?
Headline.
Anything
It could happen.
Yeah.
Son of a.
Anything you'd expect would be in a 6.0 is probably there, unless we don't do it and then it's not there.
See, that's exact. That's done and done. Answered all
Okay.
those questions about 6.0.
Well, shit,
right
throw
there.
this away.
Well, I mean, because
But-
more.
It's just the first one.
I know.
They're not all good.
Well,
Okay.
I know. I read through some of these. I love you
Ouch.
guys. I really
Ouch.
do, guys. I really
Wow.
love our listeners, but some of these are like, whoa. Oh, come on.
Okay. Something
lightning
that
round
came up
me.
a lot.
Yeah, let's just
Okay.
pound through them.
Lightning
Let's
round. Big beard customization comes when?
There was actually a giant beard in the game long
We
before
talked
launch.
about this.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked
And I
about
don't know
this.
how it got cut. I'm not sure what happened. Someone probably realized that it would clip
Well,
with
it
literally
probably
everything.
clipped everything. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
If you can make capes work, you can make a big beard work.
That's relative.
flow in the wind.
Yeah.
I don't know
maybe
if I haven't seen anyone
put
talk about this.
physics on it.
There are dynamic storms that happen on Osis.
Yeah, I
Like
know,
a
lightning
storm-
and shit
yeah.
up there. Yeah, yeah.
So we should make
It
the
should
beard
blow in
like
the wind.
blow in the wind.
yeah.
Yeah.
That should be a thing.
Yeah.
All right. New playable species.
Gets talked about a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't have one like nailed down that we're definitely doing in the
Okay.
near term, but it's something we talk about a lot and would like to do.
Would you
Yeah.
open that up for public commentary? Like,
I mean,
throw
yeah,
a poll out
like
to
we,
people?
we're
or-
always looking at those absolutely to
Yeah.
see. The thing we look for with those is does it have a really good breadth of customization
Sure.
that is
That
accepted,
would make
right?
it usable.
Right,
for
so like Keldor
anybody.
comes up
Yeah.
a lot,
Yep.
but I don't. At least in the examples that we have so far, there's not a lot of variety of Keldor. Right, they're all roughly the same color. They all have the face masks. You could probably change up the face masks a bit.
Right.
So we'd have to work with Lucasfilm a lot to be like, are there other colors we could do? Are there other shapes of the tendrils and things? Like that one, it might be a tougher one to do than say Nautilin, right, which comes in a lot of colors. You could do the tentacles
Yeah.
different ways.
Mhm.
But they all have to
Um,
talk in a Jamaican accent. So how are you going to make that work?
I'm not even gonna do.
No, I'm just saying.
The other one, and we mentioned Kim Vol. This kind of cheats a little bit, but
Right.
they need to have a relatively human jaw structure because we do a little
For
bit.
kissing?
We do a little bit of kissing in this
Yeah.
game, and
A
so
lot
like,
of kissing.
Rhodians have a lot of variety. We could probably
Ooh.
get some mileage out of that, but they have that weird, not weird. Everyone is special and
That's
accept
right.
and
Unique.
fine in their own way. I don't want to be I don't want to be speciesist. But we've got a lot of animations in the game where that would suddenly get real weird. So
However,
probably
that
Rodian's probably on the
that could be
They're doing
lesser
the Thrasher mode.
the
and
lesser
gets
end of possibility. So thinking along those lines.
The answer is Deveronian. That's where you want to go. with that
Deveronian's
one.
an interesting one. We've talked about that one too. My concern is most people don't know what those are, and
I don't
they
know
would
what
just
it
be
is.
like,
It's
why?
Galt.
They'd be like,
The
why?
devil dude.
Oh.
They'd be like, why is there just a Satan race in this game?
I
Like,
know,
what's
right?
the deal with that? Like, I
Because
don't know if
looks
it would.
cool.
I don't-
amazing.
Also,
That's why.
the females Deveronians look quite different from male Deveronians.
Oh, do they?
They do.
Wow.
They are furry.
No shit.
And
Cool.
yeah, they're
That's hot.
significally different.
All right.
That's kind of
which
I like
could be
the way that
cool.
works.
Which could be cool.
I'd romance
Chuck's
that.
in now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally romance
Sold.
that. Yeah.
To answer your poll question, we would probably not put out a poll specifically, but
Because
we
you
would
wind up with Bodie McBoatface.
Right,
you know?
right.
And, but we would definitely we would crowdsource hey guys, what would you be interested
Here's
in
the
if you saw
5 you
Rose?
can pick from.
The problem
you know?
here's why we always stray from polls, just as a general rule. People get real attached to polls,
True.
and they're like, "But look,
You said this."
everyone voted for this option."
There were
Yeah.
300 votes. It's clear what the
Yeah,
player
right.
base
Yeah,
wants.
yeah,
So it's like
totally,
300
Yeah.
compared to the amount of people that play this game.
Hillary's
is,
gonna win.
yeah.
It's a landslide.
Yeah,
Oh.
Don't trust the polls.
correct. Polls are misleading.
Okay. Well then, more companion stuff obviously comes up a lot.
Sure.
So, is Kira coming back?
Yes.
Is there a Scourge coming
We
back?
just talked about that like
Yes.
twice today.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys
Okay.
are like in our meetings.
Keith has asked me when Kira's coming back like twice
Yeah.
just
Ha.
today.
Yeah,
Good.
that is
yeah.
accurate.
So
Okay. Because
have-
Keith wants it.
yeah.
It's-
So no, I wanted to. Like, I
it's
literally
gonna happen.
just finished playing a Jedi Knight through the class story, romancing Kira. Like,
Yeah.
we're all on board for this. It's a tricky situation right now because it's taken so long to do it that it's kind of the ultimate example of all of them, right? It's like, do we do something that we can get done quickly and get her back,
Mhm.
or do we try to like do something a little bigger because we have kept her away from you for so long,
Okay.
right? And let me know. What do y'all think?
That's
I don't
a
know.
tough
like,
one.
like
'cause
we've kind of had a version put together that was more lightweight, and we could probably do more quickly.
like the Mako and Corso reunions.
Yeah,
those
like
were-
more like most of them have been,
Yeah.
admittedly, right? Like our goal with those was, you know what, we've held them from you too long as it is. I wanted to do whole chapters about every single one, but that's not a thing. So let's
Right.
just get them back to you in as a meaningful and cool a way as we can.
I have plenty of chapters about Mako. just in case you
Yeah.
want to
We
read.
won't ask you anything
my
more about
fiction,
that.
that's-
But
you know,
That's fan fiction, bro.
I would love
That's a
to read your
whole-
fan fiction.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a whole other thing, man.
It's
Um,
about to
it's-
be. It's about to be blocked from Tumblr.
right.
you
So
know.
it's it is.
Oh.
R.I.P. Tumblr.
F.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
to pay respects
That's
for
the way it
Tumblr
goes.
porn.
Arr.
But yeah, exactly right. It's trying to find that right balance between how long have we held it, what's the expectation level, which I feel like with Kieran Scourge is very high.
Mhm.
So yeah, just trying to figure that out. But
Okay.
absolutely, they're at the top priority list, I think, in terms of what most requested companions, right? Like
Yes.
them versus Theron Cedrax. It's
Not
not
as
quite
much.
not a tight race.
Yeah.
But I know I like Theron Cedrax a lot. But
Can you bring back Just Holiday and not?
That would be great.
like she
we have
she went
talked.
rogue and ditched him.
we did talk about bringing them back separately. Actually, that
Oh,
is
yeah?
something we've discussed. But,
If she could get more dances, that'd be hilarious.
Can I say also that one of my favorite things ever is one of Charles's ideas on how to bring Theron Cedrax back. I won't tell you what it is just in case it ever happens, but it is one of my
Yeah.
favorite things.
It-
That's all I will say.
You're,
live
you're
in
leaving
the
us
parade.
hanging, dude.
yeah,
I'm so
mega
excited.
tease.
Yeah. So
When it does happen, you'll know why it would.
You'll know
yeah,
why.
yeah.
Okay.
It'll be pretty apparent.
Yeah.
All right. What about so fan favorite? We got an Arcane romance.
Yep.
Right. How about Valen makes her way some back and is
I-
romanceable?
So that Valen's that's a pretty complex topic,
She has
right?
kissable
'Cause
lips.
She does. She does.
Totally.
Her voice, the voice actor is a wonderful person, and I would love to hang out with her more. She does a great performance. I'm a huge fan of that character. I created it in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
For what it's worth,
created her.
Natasha Loring
Natasha.
literally said at an event when asked about Veil of Romance, she just looked at the person who asked her what she would literally eat you alive.
Yeah, yeah. Because obviously, most of the people that want Valen back, I think it's because they also want the Valen romance, right?
Clearly.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah.
She's a cool character. She's pretty dead.
It did not
Right,
end
like,
well for her.
like-
spoilers.
Sometimes characters, their death is a little
Sorta
more
dead.
uncertain.
Yeah.
But you look at someone like Mar is another good example, right? Like,
Yeah.
we see his Force ghost.
Spooky Mar.
y-
Yeah.
He's gone. Like, he's dead.
Right.
So could some version of Valen perhaps appear? Like, again, maybe a Force ghost or something? Hypothetically, that we could maybe do.
Okay.
I feel like we would be going a couple steps too far if we just literally brought her back to life, like it would take a lot of twists and turns to make that make sense.
Fair enough.
That said, I think there are a lot of very legitimate criticisms of her dying as a character and how that storyline was played out in terms of, she was obviously a very troubled individual and went through a lot of trauma to bring her to be the kind of person that she was to some degree. And I actually found that, especially with the power of retrospection, found those critiques very, legitimate and stuff. So it's not the kind of thing where we would go back and change it. Like we need to keep moving forward.
Right, you can't
It's
redo
not-
Kote.
That's unfortunately just not a thing. But it's definitely a lesson learned and something that we would be more cautious with going forward. So, but thank you so much for people
Choices
sharing
matter, man.
legitimate
I mean,
critique. Like it's cool. I want to hear that kind of stuff. so.
Redemptions are important.
Yeah,
Yeah, we like that.
like so for me, Valen is not a character who would ever, in my mind, would ever join you because she doesn't want to work for anyone, right? Like her whole issue is that she's been forced to do things her entire life.
Right.
She's been controlled and told what she can and can't do, and held back from what she was capable of. And that was why once she was finally free and could do whatever she wanted, she literally did whatever she wanted, right? It was no rules, no one tells me what to do.
Wild
And
card.
Yeah, and so it would be very hard to justify someone like that saying, okay, I'll now work for you and it'll be cool. Like, people talk about, I wanted to redeem Valen. It's like, well, but she doesn't see that as redemption. Like, redemption isn't meaningful to her. Like, that's what? Why would I want to subscribe to what you say is the right thing? Like, I decide what's right for me.
Okay.
That's Valen's perspective, right? And so, like, having her storyline work out differently, agreed, there could have been other ways to do it. But having her suddenly change to the side of good, like, Arkin is someone who seeks validation, right? Like,
Sure.
that's what he needed in life, was
Right.
for his father to approve of him, for his mother to approve of him, for people to think he's a great ruler, like all of these things. He failed in all of those things, right? He just, because he wanted it so bad that he
Didn't work out.
Exactly. But you could see how a character like that would realize, oh, I've done all of this horrible stuff in search of validation when I should have been looking for it within myself or within, there's
Okay.
you can see that pathway for that character.
Right.
Whereas with Valen, I don't think it's there.
Okay.
So there's several reasons why I don't think we would bring her back, but she is really cool, and
She is cool.
If we find a way to,
Yeah.
bring her in a dream or a force vision or something, we'll try to do our best.
I've had that dream before.
Cloning, man. Somebody mentioned in
Yeah.
chat, you just clone them, man. It's all good.
Clones are good?
It's part of the Star Wars universe, man. They clone a lot of
Does it count
things.
as Valen if it's a clone of Valen?
But if you make multiples, man, I mean.
We're back to multiplicity.
We're back to the
Exactly.
the Michael Keaton gold.
Oh, no.
I was going pile of Makos, but so we've got a Chem Val romance. How about an M41X romance?
Oh my
M14X?
god.
I don't know if M14X can love anything as much as he loves the Republic.
Well, yeah,
but
clearly, two people enamored with the Republic.
like a droid romance, I think, is a thing we should try to get into, though,
they
right?
kind of
Like,
explored
Solo,
that in the
Solo touched
Solo.
on it a little
Yeah.
bit. I
It
feel
works,
like
trust me.
our partners in Lucasfilm would be supportive.
I think so.
You know,
You can give them a customization,
so-
Scorpio would have to be first, though, right?
sorry.
Scorpio would have to be first.
That's another one where I think she would just eat you alive.
Yeah, right,
Right.
probably.
Ship
Yeah.
droid
That would be
first,
the
and then-
the Mass Effect 2 where you just die.
ship
You
droid?
you romance her and you're just dead
Oh my
afterward.
god. The jokes that I.
Yes.
Oh,
Who
the
doesn't
jokes
want a
that
ship
come-
droid romance?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you
He just wants to maximize your comfort.
I know, right?
That's all he wants.
Charles. So good.
In the back room, you ask for change for 100. It works out.
Nice.
No?
Wow.
No.
Is
No.
that not going
You
to
don't
be a thing?
you don't pay him. He's in it for the sake of it.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that very much. Okay, I think that's all the companion things. Somebody wants to kill Lana. Is that a thing?
Eh.
I mean,
I've seen that a bunch on the forums too, of someone being
Yeah.
like, "Why can't I kill Lana?"
Right.
Because Lana's.
I don't want to put a kill in just to put one in. Like, I feel like there needs to be a good reason. Like,
Okay.
even if you're
Yeah.
a fairly psychotic player, like you probably need some motivation to kill her. And I know some players feel like they have that. So I guess maybe I see it, but she has been nothing but loyal and supportive to you the entire time.
True.
So I find it hard to believe that unless you were just randomly murdering people, it would
Which,
be hard to justify. And I've been trying to get away from that a little bit, like
Yeah.
less just I'm just gonna be crazy for no reason kind of options. I feel like the story is a lot harder to keep on a straight path if we just let
Right.
you randomly murder anyone.
Okay.
So
I don't
I'm
know.
not going to say we would never offer
I
that
see a
because I think there
pathway,
needs to be
like,
a justification for it.
Okay. But let's talk about dead companions then. Like,
Yeah.
Like Koth. You can have him remain with your alliance or he can depart. But he has no more dialogue.
Yes,
Since
and
that
I
split
don't
ever
like
happened.
that.
Yeah.
That is not.
And
the correct case
okay.
in my mind.
And there's other companions like
Yeah.
that, like Jorgen and Torian, Ved, Kaleo, all the companions that could have died through the
So you'll notice that also companions who could not possibly die, like Galt, we mentioned. We haven't seen
Right.
much of Galt either, right?
True.
It's purely just there are so many of them, and there is only so much story to tell, and it's hard to like wedge everyone in every time, right?
Yeah.
So it's more a bandwidth issue than it is a they are dead or alive issue. Like
Okay.
we see Theron. I know it's only
He
brief,
did have
but
a line.
we
yeah,
see some
yeah.
Theron in this one.
He had some humor about
you
his
know?
haircuts.
Like I wanted that. We have an Arkan romance. Arkan can be dead,
Right.
you know, very blatantly, right? So it's definitely not some kind of rule or where we say, oh, once they could be killed, they're never showing up again. It's that is not a factor.
Okay.
You know, it certainly is an extra expense, but to me, it's worth it. It's more finding space to do it for their character to fit into this larger story. So hopefully,
And for it to make sense.
and for it to make sense,
Yeah.
like not to feel crammed in, right?
Yeah, where you're like, hey, everybody's got a line in this one. All right, everybody gather in the war room. Okay, everybody's got one line in here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right,
All right,
right,
great
right.
to hear from everybody. Cool. See
You know,
later.
my hope is that when we do a larger story update, that we can get a few of them back in again and start seeing a little bit more of them again. But
Okay.
you know,
Cool.
it is, again, I just want to say it is nothing to do. I see a lot of people who are convinced that as soon as we're offering murder options for no reason, and as soon as we do it, we never have to do it again.
Right.
Hooray!
Yeah.
No, that's not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of possibly murdered companions,
Oh,
my-
sorry. You
No.
mentioned Koth.
No, don't
Koth.
do it. Don't do
No,
it.
we can get there. The Koth thing, though. One other last thing I want to throw out: that State of the Galaxy thing that we just put out
Right.
a few weeks back. There's a whole section in there about what's going on in Zakul and all
Yes.
that. Most of the reason I put that in there was to set up a possible story for Koth. For the Koth fans out there.
Very
that was-
nice.
I loved Koth. I know a lot of people hate him.
Yeah,
I love
he's
Koth.
dead.
Musco hates him. He murders
I don't
him
get
every
the
chance he
I don't
gets.
get the hate.
I love Koth.
I don't get
I
it.
just don't want to
so-
listen to him talk to me anymore. He's so self-righteous all the time.
He
Just,
was.
God, don't get off my
Yeah.
ship, and then don't steal it either.
Right. But that jacket is dope.
He's
Man.
a snappy dresser.
I will
There's
tell
no
you,
that
arguing
jacket
with
was
that.
rad.
on my agent, quite literally, like the whole time I played that character, he was like a ruthless murderer of everyone, unless I could like turn them to be an ally, and then I recruited them, except Koth. Koth is literally the only companion I killed in the entire history of that character.
Right.
But sorry, go ahead.
All right. So segue. Haha. Companions that are both living and dead. In my companion list now, I have
Yes, the bug.
some companions that are there and some companions that are all
Yeah.
simultaneously unavailable. So
Yeah.
we've seen a handful of bugs in 5.10. What's going on there?
So yes, investigations ongoing. We have fixes for at least some of them, not all of it.
Yeah, so tentatively right now we have a patch that will happen next week. I won't necessarily guarantee Tuesday because it depends on some moving parts. It could be Tuesday, Wednesday. We're not sure what day next week. So it'll depend on how things go. But we have, I think, like...
I know Jaisa is being addressed with that one.
Yes.
In particular.
Yep, so
there's
the-
an issue where you get Jaisa back and her influence is incorrect.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're looking especially
Or you get
to
both
fix
light
that.
side and
Or
dark
you
side
get
back.
both light and dark.
Yeah.
Those ones we're definitely working
Yep.
directly to fix. The others also fixes in process, but they're not as far along.
Yeah, so let me see the ones I can remember. So we fixed the Jason thing. We'll fix. There's some people who don't get the second mission on Osis. There's a whole bunch of like, if you pick this choice at this time and this choice, like there's some weird edge case that they can get in that state. We're
Right.
gonna fix that. We're not fixing the companions being double showing unavailable and not
in
available.
that patch, we
In
will
that
fix
patch,
it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
because it's purely an issue of how they are displayed in the window. It's not that it has changed your choice or something in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least we have no evidence at all suggesting it does. If
Correct.
someone does, feel free to send it in. We'll check it
Yes.
out.
But are they available or are they unavailable?
They are available.
So they're available.
They are available.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
So-
should be.
They
Yeah,
should
they
be.
should
The both of the issues related to the Master of Crystal missions. So one is that the world bosses are not tracking progress, and that same mission also you apparently can only get on Tuesdays. And so we're fixing both of those as well.
Yeah.
Very
and
good.
Next week.
I think there's maybe like one or two other fixes yet. The biggest thing for us, like especially as we're getting close to the holidays, I mean,
Yeah. So that's my next
Yeah,
question.
when's vacation?
We got a bunch of bugs. So is
Just, y'all
y'all about to close up shop?
No,
for
yeah,
a
so-
month?
so- yeah, I'll-
That's why we want to get that patch out next week.
Christmas
and
party
touch as
on
many as we
Wednesday
can.
next week, and then
Yeah.
like everybody's out and checks out for the
Yeah,
next
so
2
obviously,
weeks.
like around the holidays, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone, right? Like people everywhere tend to take vacation around the holidays, right? So we will definitely be light around the holidays in general. And so one thing we always try to do is if we put out an update in December and then we put out a patch to fix those issues, we only try to fix absolutely critical issues. So I even put a post up on the forums talking about like there'll be a patch next week probably, but don't expect every...
Yeah, glitchy things are not
Yeah,
a big
if it-
deal.
if
If it
it's-
affects gameplay,
Like,
it's going to make it. That's
it's
that's
all
what
bad.
makes
Like
a
we
difference,
want to fix
All bad.
anything
yeah,
that
yeah,
goes wrong,
for
of
sure,
course.
for
But
sure.
the less.
But you got to make it
if
the
we hone in
important
on the
stuff.
critical ones,
anything
we
that can be
confident
exploited,
in those.
anything that can
Right.
give you an advantage.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
you
use
know.
a prime example, and like players use this as an example against us, and actually this reinforces why we do this. Like, look at the Ravagers exploit that.
Well, I
existed,
remember.
right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
we introduced that as part of a patch because we were trying to fix some things, and then it took us way too long to fix it
Yeah.
because of trying to get the people together, diagnose the problem, and get things addressed. And when we make a patch like this, we want to touch as little as possible and only fix critical things, and then everything else can wait till January. And we know it's not optimal. It's not optimal for any of us. But what we don't want to do is make a really bad game-wide problem that then creates a bigger issue that we have to address in January. So we understand it may not be absolutely perfect going into December. We want to make sure absolutely most of the important blockers are out of the way, and this way you can cruise through the holidays, enjoy your SWTOR, and then we'll come back and fix the weird edge casey stuff that exists when we get back.
Yeah, which makes total sense.
Okay. Cool. So, something else that I've been tasked to ask with many, many times. Let's talk about desync.
Yes.
yes.
We were just talking about this
I was
earlier.
like,
as
yeah,
well.
I want to
Yeah.
go. I want to go
So-
there, but
Yeah.
I was like, are we ready for that?
Well, I've fucking the internet taunted me like he's not going to ask about desync. the fucking Bioware.
What do
people,
they think you won't ask us?
No,
Is
they-
there any topic they think you won't touch?
Yeah, I know. I know.
There's straight up a thread that says, "Oh, these are the questions they're not allowed to ask." So, fuck you, the internet. I'm gonna ask.
There are no questions you are not allowed
I
to
can
ask.
I can tell you in the history of doing these, I don't think I've ever told you guys there was something
No,
you
dude.
No,
The most I will say is you can ask whatever you want. I can't guarantee we can answer
exactly.
it. But ask whatever
Yeah.
you want.
So I mean,
Yeah. Well, and desync is probably one
So-
that we don't have a great answer for yet because
Yeah.
the investigation is happening. Like we've seen all the feedback about it. Obviously, we've experienced it ourselves when playing.
Yeah.
It's not good, and so we're going to look into why is it happening, what is causing this, and any feedback that players have would be very helpful, right? Like if-
what's the stuff that you need from people? in
it's
that
hard to say
respect?
right now
Is it
because
like
we don't
time of-
have something to hone it down
time
to.
of day, server you're on,
Mhm.
which characters, or like
Right, like who-
what,
yeah,
what's
what-
the collection of data
What
that
is
would
the
help?
anything you can think of in the situation where you were in, where you notice it,
Mhm.
or perhaps I notice it more. In
I've got a spreadsheet
this.
guy that's sitting over
Yeah,
here. This
there you
guy
go.
will
Yeah,
keep
there
a
you go.
log of all
Yeah,
this
like
shit
if we
that
can kind of
happens.
okay, well, it's happening at
Yeah,
2
yeah.
p.m. whenever there are more than
So-
3 troopers. Like that's
Yeah.
probably not it, but
Okay.
any data like that is
But
useful.
at least if nothing
Yeah.
else, like if I notice it at 10
Yeah.
p.m. on Starforge, like
any
it
kind of pattern
seems
that
like
we can
that's what
put
it
together
starts, you know?
is going to help.
But to
and,
this-
and it may be that there is no particular pattern, that it's just a general thing going on with the servers or what have you, and we'll find that out too. But
And
Okay.
if nothing else,
Yeah.
it distracts you for a second so that you can write it down,
Right.
and suddenly you're synced up again.
Yeah.
All right, you're good.
Because there is an
Yeah,
element.
like,
One of
that is
our
good.
one of our tech directors once upon a time told me this, and I thought it's pretty accurate to explain stuff like this. Is like in general, anytime we're doing something, we're adding new systems, we're adding new areas, we're doing things, we're making performance worse. And so at the same time, we are constantly making tech improvements to make performance better.
Yeah.
And so those two things are always battling with each other, so that we keep it in a good place where performance is really good. And so sometimes it creeps up on one side or the other, and that's when stuff like this might start happening. Because right, like we're a game where there is server side stuff and client side stuff, so there's going to be some element of it weirdly lagged in that spot, I jumped to
Yeah.
a weird place. Like that's going to happen on occasion. We're never going to be able to make that perfect, but obviously the issues with desync go well above and beyond where that should be, and
Yeah,
so
for
that's
sure.
why
Yeah.
if we can figure out like is it just a general performance issue or is it
Well,
like
and because it affects an entire gameplay,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and whether that's PVE, where if you're standing in the wrong spot, next thing
Ooh.
you know, you're
Yeah.
taking down, like, or PvP, where
You can't get the hutball carrier.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
trying to make
exactly.
my
Or
I'm trying
somebody's
to
crossing
hollow
the goal.
traverse up to like the top
Ooh.
row to like
Yeah.
make my MLG plays and stop the ball carrier, and then I fall into the pit and it doesn't work, and I'm like, oh my god.
and it's not like Wreck-It Ralph where you can make that shit work for you.
Yeah.
Like I can't like zone myself across the line. It never works out that way.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know.
like I said, we see it too, so we understand. So yeah, I mean, any information like, and when we have streams and stuff, right? People bring it up all the time, and it's hard because like at this point, the only thing we can say is we know that it's there, and we're looking into ways that we can address it. And the most we can do is keep saying that. And I know that's not rewarding for people to hear,
Well,
but it's just the truth at the moment.
the question is, and I think somebody actually just brought this up in chat, is, and as you mentioned, you keep adding content to it, it creates more drag on some of the things that are there. Has there ever been a thought to remove content that would start pulling things down?
You
a
mean
little
like
bit?
8v8 ranked?
Whoa!
That was first of all two things.
Shots
One,
fired.
that was
Shit,
that was a joke, but you walked right into it.
Drop the mic. But no,
Let's
like,
pour one out for AV.
but no, like whether it's early story missions or if it's I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
So to be fair, I should clarify.
Right,
It's
right in the ear. Okay,
yeah, it's not quite that stuff. It's not like we add OSIS performance gets worse, right? It tends to be like when we have like weapon tunings, right? Like things that
PvP in strongholds
Right.
or things like that. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
that seemed to be where most people started to really notice like that seemed to be where
and Strongholds was a case
some of
where
this
we
popped up.
knew that it would be a little worse in Strongholds than it was anywhere else, and we kind of accepted that as a trade-off to have the feature at all,
Yeah.
right? Because of the decos,
Mhm.
it was always going to be a little weirder in there.
Well, I'm not saying that's
but-
like where the problem
But
is.
right,
But
it shouldn't be that
it
having
shows itself
PvP in a
regular
Stronghold
PvP.
causes a regular Warzone to
Yeah.
desync, right? But
But could it? You know,
I'm
so
not an
so
engineer,
but
man.
you know what I'm saying. But you know what I'm
I
saying.
wouldn't
I mean,
think so.
yeah,
But
I trust me. That's a feature that I wouldn't want to see removed because
Yeah.
it's awesome. But
I mean,
at
the
same
short
time,
answer
you
is,
know.
I make the 8v8 joke, but honestly, it's pretty legit. Like, we try
Mm.
absolutely as hard as possible to not remove anything ever.
Yeah.
People enjoy.
Yeah.
Someone enjoys it.
Totally.
We don't want to.
every
Yeah.
TV show is someone's favorite.
No, I know,
Right.
I know,
Yeah.
no matter what. You
Yeah.
know. And I totally get that. There's a
Yeah.
reason to keep all that stuff around. There's still somebody out there playing Galaxies. I know. Yeah, you know, so it's
Yeah.
and it's
You're not wrong.
and it's Brian Reed. So
I got an emulator on my PC at home.
but you know, and so I get that, but at the same time, if it's something that would influence performance of in some way,
We have had issues in the past where we have introduced things that had very odd performance impacts we didn't expect. But even in those cases, to ultimately circle back, the answer isn't to remove the thing; it's to fix the problem. Like if you guys remember when we launched Rise of the Hutt Cartel, do you guys remember the ability delay problems we had?
Yes.
When that came out, like it was bad. It was very bad.
Right.
And so it wasn't about removing the ultimate cause of that problem, unless it's something that players never see, right? Like there might be something hidden in the ground or some random thing that you guys don't even know is happening.
an
that we
environment
remove.
type thing.
But yeah,
that
but if it
causes
was
an
like,
issue
oh, we
or-
realized that this
There
mission
are 50
is-
hidden buffs stacked on you.
Right.
What?
yeah. So unless if it's something that players are ever aware of that involves the fix, we will always find some
Yeah.
other way to address that problem as opposed to removing something that you have.
So there are people that still love the space PvE missions on Rails. Yeah. Are they
Yeah.
ever going to get some love?
We talked about that.
I wouldn't bet on it.
I
if
wouldn't
I'm
bet on
honest.
I made a Rails
yeah.
joke yesterday about going to
Yeah.
my
They-
Starship because I'm like I haven't been there and I get it's sitting on Rails somewhere.
Yeah.
They're constructed pretty hackily, and finding the people who even know how they work is tough.
Oh, no.
We could figure it out
Yeah.
probably.
Okay.
But honestly, like the bang for buck of putting the time into makes those probably not great.
Just attach a shit ton of
Sorry.
CXP to them. You know,
Yeah,
everybody
right?
will be doing them.
We
Yeah,
did.
no
we
shit.
buffed this. Didn't we buff the CXP? Don't
think
they?
we did,
We
actually.
buffed the
Did you?
CXP for that. I
Oh,
think
damn, I
so.
didn't
There's
even
probably like
notice.
a shit ton of bugs in there and
But
like
I
you
could be
blow
totally
it out.
lying.
You
Because the
know,
other
like-
problem that we have, I shouldn't even say this because someone's going to go look at it. Don't do it. We track it. Is it's easily bottable,
Oh, yeah.
which is also part of
One
the
of them
problem.
you can just
because
Yeah.
it's
AFK.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's a static mission, right? And
Right.
so we also have to be cautious of that too.
Fair enough. Don't
Yeah.
do
I
not
would-
do that.
Don't do that.
I mean, if you want to get your account banned,
Don't
go
be
ahead.
bad.
That's
If I
Don't
were
fine.
going to
be
do
bad.
something, and I'm not saying we're doing it, but if I were going to do something, I would rather turn GSF into some kind of PvE experience than
I would
try to
love
I'd
that.
rather
try
you
to
did
work
that too.
rather than try to
Love
work
that.
out how those things work.
Yeah, for
Let's
sure.
just make the cooler thing.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Not saying we're doing it, just
But
but that's what I would do.
But
would
you're
rather
saying
you
you're
would
doing
do
it. That's what I heard.
I'm saying that's what I
heard,
would do.
I heard you saying that's what you're
understand.
doing.
It's a new headline.
What?
Good time.
Yeah.
All right. Charles Boyd says PvE missions in GSF. All
Charles
right.
Boyd confirms new
Somewhat
space on
possible.
Rails.
The person you really want to hit on that is Brett Hoffman. He's
Yeah.
the guy that'll get
Oh,
you
yeah.
in all the GSF love.
Right on. So another thing that comes up alongside desync is the game engine. So it's who knows how many years old at this point. Is there ever going to be any updates to a 64-bit engine using newer DirectX or any sort of improvements there? At least so the client side can work better on newer hardware. Is there
Right.
anything going there?
Nothing we could announce. Like, there's nothing directly in the works at this moment, so I couldn't say definitively yes. But also, you would never say definitively no, right? It certainly could happen. Again, I'm not a technical enough person that I feel like I could speak knowledgeably to how it would be done and how feasible it is.
Sure.
I think a lot of people misunderstand exactly what the engine is and what parts of the thing it's responsible for, and so they're like, oh, well, why don't they just get a new engine? It's like,
Right.
well,
Yeah, the
why
things
don't I
of-
just get a new body? There's a lot tied into that.
the
but
things of like, Hero Engine is butts. That's why this game is butts. It's like that's
also, honestly, like at this point, we have changed and modified and tweaked it so much that it's barely even Hero Engine anymore, right? Like
Right.
There's so much under the hood that we've changed. So I think the answer is anything is possible. It's just we'd have to weigh how much are we doing to make that happen versus what else?
6.0.
Those
Yeah,
people
that's
could
what
be
it's all. Don't worry.
Those are the kind of things
6.0.
that I feel like, though, like sometimes when we make like big tech leaps, like one of our super tech savvy people, one day comes and we're like, hey, we're doing this thing in the future. I'm like, I didn't know that existed. Cool.
Right on.
Sounds like we'll implement that.
I mean, that's been a problem. That solves that problem that we're talking about.
But I think
okay.
going back to the reader question, though, I think it would be super valuable, right? Like finding ways to kind of refresh and make the game feel a little more modern visually, I think is very worthwhile. So
Okay.
we'll see. Again, not a techie person. So
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Game engine update coming soon.
I set the password on my own router.
All
right, dude.
all right.
Well
I'm
done.
basically a hacker. But
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that's a,
You
hey,
got your
man.
elite. You got the skills.
I whipped out my paper clip and hit the reset button. Oh yeah, check it out. Defaults.
I'm impressed you had a paperclip, actually. That's the.
That's because I still have paper, man. You know, that's,
So tech.
Anytime I need to hit one of those reset buttons, I'm like, what do I use to press this
high
reset
tech.
button?
Yeah.
He's got that Gutenberg printing press.
Right. Good time.
So techie. Let's do a couple more quick hits, and then we'll do some things. Can we go to Camino? Smiley face.
Interesting.
Another water planet?
Yeah, I don't know.
It'd be we'd have to find ways to set it apart from like Manon, right, to make
Right.
it
Yeah.
feel distinct. And I'd have to talk to Lucasfilm about like
I mean, except for the
were they
the
meant to have been
race.
cloners all the way back here
Yeah,
in this
right.
time period? Like that would be potentially interesting. Like were they like way worse at it?
I was
The
gonna say,
clones
yeah, I
are
was
no
gonna say,
way,
like, you got
crappy
really
three-legged
effed up
clones.
clones, you know,
Right,
like,
like-
it turns out like the
We've circled
yeah.
back to Valen, haven't
Or
we?
they're
Yeah.
like no back
Exactly. Oh
we-
no!
Kai
oh,
Zykin
no!
runs a cloning plant.
I'm in. Let's do it. Ship it.
And the gravity
Or like
just
they used to
really
just-
low. That's why
they-
they're so tall and
they were
stretched out.
specialized at like making droids for years and years and years. Then it just all that business just cratered. And they're like, no, we're going going
No
clones.
use-
We're
they
doing
want
this.
flesh.
Put
Everybody wants
put
flesh.
everything into clones.
Kashyyyk is coming when exactly?
With Camino.
Nobody. Yeah.
Right next to
yeah,
Camino.
right.
All
with
right.
So
Camino.
I would have an easier time seeing us do Kashyyyk than Camino.
You could do a Life Day event on Kashyyyk.
Oh my God.
Clearly,
Oh my
right?
God. The
Yeah.
race to Kashyyyk. You carry the
You
light
got,
day
you got the
orb.
orb.
I think,
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
I think again, just like
How
playable
cool would
Wookiees,
that be?
sit through the entire Christmas special.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
and
yeah.
then come back and tell me that you want to see.
I want to
all
see that.
Wookiees all the
We were
time.
watching it today. We
Yeah,
actually were
had
watching
this
it
playing
today.
in the office.
Yeah, with the original commercials
Oh,
in it.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
warm up
Like
for this
legit.
interview?
Yeah, totally. Actually, we were. I mean, like, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I read once that is actually where
Itchy.
Deshad, the race, first appeared.
Really?
Was as some background character in the Christmas special. I have never been able to spot it, and I've seen that
Huh.
more times than any person should ever admit to.
That's
but
probably yeah.
I think that's what
More
it's
than
credited
zero
to.
is
more
one
than
time.
0. Yeah.
So if anyone can spot it and send me a screenshot,
Interesting.
I'll get you
I'll keep an
something.
eye out for that.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, cool.
Damn it! Now I gotta watch it again.
Yeah,
Shit.
and again. People are asking about customizations, Twi'leks, Cathars, etc.,
Yes.
etc. More faces, more customizations. Are those in the works?
Yes-ish.
Okay.
Works-ish.
Okay.
We've put them on in various like backlogs and things of things that we want to do. I couldn't say that like literally a human being is working on it right now, right? But yeah, the spreading the Sith eyes around a little more, certainly very well known.
Yeah, like Melora's eyes and
requests,
Cena's eyes. Yeah.
More skin tones, more patterns for the aliens in general. Like we've added a fair number of human ones, but we haven't added as many to the aliens lately. One I'm really excited to do at some point would be Resistance. Just had a Miri Allen character who's purple, not green or yellow. So
Cool.
it's like, oh, hey, there's a whole new option that we could do.
Oh, that's right. She was the kind of
the
traitor
pirate,
one.
yeah.
yeah.
You know, so like just little stuff like that we're always watching what Lucasfilm and them are doing too, and seeing where we can expand our options that we have that we hadn't expected before. So
Cool.
Yeah, but yeah, very much a known and
Okay.
desirable thing to do.
Another one that popped up always in that is the weapon designer.
Yes.
As far as
Yes.
costume designer,
Yep.
when am I going to be
Yes.
able to design my weapon?
It's on the list.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
That's another one Keith bugs me about a lot.
Not the answer. That's not the answer you're supposed to give me.
Is there a human working on that?
At this exact moment now.
Okay. Well, nobody's working now. Right?
Well,
So-
yeah, dude. It's going to be at the Christmas
Well,
party, bro.
There's
all
probably
right.
there might be somebody
probably
working
someone
right
working.
now.
Fair
I
enough.
couldn't say.
Something that came with the new patch is the something vehicle something mount checkbox.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for the Concierge Quicksilver, whatever that thing's
Yeah.
called.
What does that do? In
The Cohensair Dart.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, I was close.
So that it's like engine. It's mount.
Yeah, it's engine
customization
bloom.
color. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't believe I can't
Right.
remember the name. Yeah, so it basically it takes the color from the color crystal in your primary weapon and applies that to the VFX colors on a mount.
So the effects colors, not just the
Not the paint job,
not the engine
effects
flo-
color. Yeah,
So
so like the engine glow,
Correct.
things
Okay,
like that.
but that's
it
the
could
only
be other
effect.
things too,
Correct.
and later mounts.
Which
but
mounts
Okay.
is that supposed to work on?
right now, just the Cohensair Dart, the new one.
Okay. And will that list grow?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
cool.
so.
Because
If
I
you
tried
want
like 25 or 30 mounts last night. And
Yeah.
I was like, what the
Yeah, it's just
No.
on the new hotness right now.
Okay.
But
All
yeah.
right.
All right, the
You
new
can expect
hot.
Yeah,
to see
because
it a
there's some
little
cool
more.
stuff that could work on. That could
Right?
be fun.
Yeah.
Like the broadcast truck, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be rad.
Yeah.
That'd be rad.
That's a good idea.
I
Yeah.
but I like the red, the live,
The red and
live, not
green.
live, live, not live. That changed. I think that's actually a totally legit.
That would
change
actually be something. If you guys think of older mounts,
Where do you think it would be really impactful? Like
Let us
really
know.
show?
Okay.
Yeah,
Let
that'd
us
be
know.
cool.
Well, you could do all those old Desslers. Like they have big engines.
Yeah.
And the
And
Coriolis
like a little glowy underbelly. You
Yeah.
know, they
The
got
ground
the
effects.
ground effects. You know, like
Yeah.
that stuff. Change the
Yeah.
ground effects. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay, here's kind of a lore story thing for you. State of the Galaxy, et cetera, Jedi Under Siege. The Alliance is merging back into one or the other, either the Republic or the Empire. And how thorough is that going to be? So if you have a warrior that was formerly the hand of the Emperor, will that warrior be able to be, or the wrath of the Emperor
Right.
again, under Asina or whoever? Is it going to be like that, or is your character?
Well, it's certainly not in 510, right? Like
Right.
you are just kind of establishing a more formal alliance with them.
Yeah.
So you're a very, very valued friend, but not a member
Right.
of the Sith
Your
Empire.
Gold
right?
Club member?
Yeah. yeah.
I signed up for rewards.
Yeah,
It's,
you
it's
got the
great.
newsletter.
I'm getting points now. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I could see us going that way eventually. I couldn't like speak to an exact time frame where it would happen, right? And I
Okay.
know because there's a lot of players who don't want that, right?
Right.
Like they very specifically want to keep that degree of separation because they like that autonomy. So kind of trying to find that right
Choices.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we could, I think for me the thing that I would need is either a really, really great reason that everyone merges back to their faction, or a really, really good way to keep it going either way, right?
Okay.
Like we are still friends, but we're not that friendly, you know. Or
Because I got
no,
my
I'm
Dashad
back
right
in.
here.
Friends
I'm
with
back in. I want my
benefits.
Dark Council seat.
Yeah,
I'm
you
back
know.
on that. Forget the
Yeah.
Alliance ever existed. I know there's people that want that direction too. So
Right.
it's tricky because we want to make please all masters as best we can.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm running out of questions.
We're running out of time, man.
Yeah,
What are you
so- yeah,
talking
shit,
about?
we've
We've been
been going-
talking for a long time. I need some
Yeah.
goddamn pizza rolls, dude. What are you doing to me, man?
Okay.
This is like my
all right,
my
all right.
cheat
We'll
day.
wrap it up with this one. So there's been a lot of things that have been kind of removed from the base game. Like some of the NPCs on Tython aren't there. Some of the heroic quests autocomplete. You don't go back and do those
Right.
conversations again. Are those? Will those ever come back to where?
I think they could.
like-
Yeah, it's some of them obviously that's a toggle in your settings, right? Is
Yeah.
show the exploration missions.
Show the
In
exploration
some
missions.
cases, like not all the
But-
ones you're talking. The heroics, for example, right? Like that was purely a convenience. Like we were just trying to make it as more streamlined experience. Like finish it out while you're
Sure.
in the field. Cool.
But you're missing some dialogue.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a legit. Like, I feel like I'm going to be throwing someone under the bus here. I was not involved in that decision when it
Okay.
was made years ago. I would have probably liked to find a way to get some of that dialogue and keep it.
going back to
You
the
know.
we don't like to take things away.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah. So that's to me not an ideal solution. So I'd have to look at it case by case to see like, okay, what was the actual reasoning here beyond just it's easier.
Okay.
Because there may be much more elaborate and good reasons for it.
Fair enough.
So I'd need to refamiliarize myself with it.
Right, and
Um,
I'm sure when you put all the heroics on the mission terminal, that probably changed that
Yeah,
interaction
yeah.
too. So, but
Yeah,
as-
but
as
yeah,
long
none
as
of
they're
that-
not
none of that-
forgotten.
Right,
That's
like as far as I know, like
Yeah.
I don't think any of that has ever been deleted. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like it still exists somewhere where we could probably put it back in if we wanted to.
all right.
But again, like kind of going back to some of the other questions, right? Like we're more focused forward than backward,
Right.
so it's not something that would happen urgently. But,
Okay.
Make some noise. Let us know the ones that people feel particularly passionate about, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. We'll see what we do. That's the right answer.
Ah.
We'll see what we
I
can
want
do.
I want to do it. I want to
Yeah.
do everything under the sun.
And this
We
stuff's
want to
always-
make everybody
my
happy.
canvas is only so big.
Right?
The brush
I mean,
can
come
only go
on.
so far.
Only so many
Well,
colors.
we need to give him time to write more fabulous storylines, man. We don't want to
Right.
take up time like revamping stuff that already existed. You
No,
know?
so that's a
Like-
good point.
But that stuff's helpful though because right, like, because sometimes we may not realize that happened, or we knew it happened, but we haven't revisited it. And then someone brings it up, and we go ask two of the people who were involved in some of that stuff.
Oh,
and they're
yeah,
like,
click.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
rarely
Right.
Is
that
it a
easy.
checkbox?
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I know what
sometimes
you
it
mean. Every
is.
once in a while there is something like
Sometimes
that.
it is,
yeah.
and we don't know till we ask, and
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
they're just like, or to Charles's point, maybe they're like, no, we removed it because it broke these 40
Yeah,
things.
Like
right,
there was a
yeah,
massive
right.
exploit. Or
Yeah, players don't
Yeah.
even remember that these missions were broken and didn't work at all, and then we were able to
Or
reintroduce
when we
them.
did an upgrade later on, it
Right.
confused something else because it was on a different platform. Or yeah.
And so that's really helpful when people bring it up. Like long lost stuff is helpful.
true.
Yeah.
Cool.
Always do it.
Okay. More long lost things. What more secrets are on Osus that have yet to be discovered? So we know there's Datacrons.
everyone dug pretty deep on that pretty fast. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
if there's any like they found my good buddy Udbenur.
Yep.
And figured out those Datacrons. That
Somebody
was the
found
biggest
Don.
one.
Don.
Don the
yeah.
Exiled Knight.
Yep.
There's at least a couple of hidden, some of it's part of that, but some hidden references, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this because it's probably only ever been said out loud on that radio dramatization of the Dark Empire comics. Ysanna, which are a group of survivors of the original Cataclysm on Osus who lived all the way into the Dark Empire comic storyline of the old EU.
Oh, we're getting deep
many
now.
thousands of years later. So we have some kind of initial references that kind of hint
Oh.
at those people being around. Tau actually mentions it and alludes to it
Okay.
in one of her little dialogue lines.
So there's more stuff out there.
So it's a little hints towards them, but
I
we
feel-
we won't actually.
I feel seeds of
Yeah.
storyline.
I know
coming in
something
here.
that I don't think anyone's figured out, but I don't know if you want to tell them or not.
Oh, wait, hang on. Hold on. Sidebar. Mute. Okay. All right. Something's happening over there. Okay. All right.
There's
Sorry,
a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Daerun, General Daerun has a kind of a monologue at the end of the story, which I won't spoil what it is.
Yeah, no
what the-
Okay.
spoilers.
I've
what
only
the
done
content-
Inside. So.
I mentioned it on Reddit
Oh, okay, all right.
somewhere, but I think
I
that
wasn't
that thread fell off the front page, so no one cared anymore.
Oh, okay. I
but,
wasn't sure if we had mentioned it or
Yeah,
not.
obviously. So General Daerun is Darren DePaul. His name, his name is a whole reference to him. It was. I was just dying to get Darren back in the booth because I love him.
Awesome.
And he's so talented. And such a cool guy, so created the character almost entirely for that purpose,
Ha.
and yeah, turned out really fun. I'm really pleased, and plus it gave us an opportunity to get the Krex in there. We'd seen them in the background in some cantinas and such
Right.
for the last couple of years, and now we finally get to feature one.
Yeah.
So his name
Yeah.
is a reference to him, and he has
Okay.
a monologue that's from an obscure Tong poetry poem would be the right word if I spoke English.
All right, lore junkies, get in there. All right, well, I think we've badgered you enough with questions and things.
Indeed.
It's not a badgering. It's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
That's right.
This is what we're here for.
Okay.
Indeed, and
Well,
of
drink
course,
more.
we have definitely failed the internet by not asking every question that everybody came up with on Reddit or in the chat room.
I'm sorry,
I know,
internet.
so we
Yeah,
apologize
what
for
else
not
was in
hitting
that
everything.
thread of things you're not allowed to ask, though?
Ooh.
EU server merges. I'm not allowed to ask about those.
You're not allowed to ask about EU server merges?
That's what
As
the,
in-
the internet
As
thinks.
in, they want them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it really, we need to have. I don't know that it's like a legal requirement as such, but like it is our policy to have a French one and a German one,
Correct.
for sure.
Right.
So we would never merge those.
Because
Okay.
Germany would take it over. I mean, that would be
Yeah,
terrible.
clearly
I
we
mean,
know how that story
that's
ends.
not going to end well. I mean, shit.
Wow.
You
know.
I'm just saying.
And then they all
gotta be
become U.S.
careful.
servers.
Yeah, it's like, and the next thing you know,
But only for a couple of
somebody
weeks.
does
Yeah.
somebody Brexits, and it's all fucked. You know, I mean, that's just, it's awful. Yeah, were there any other ones
Do you
that
have
were
a
like?
13-year-old in chat who has no idea anything you just talked
It's-
about?
I listen to too much damn NPR, man. Like way too much.
Yeah. I can't do Brexit talk right now.
No, I'm not
I
gonna do
just,
that.
like, There's no room in there.
We'll talk about that over pizza
Anyway,
rolls.
the
Okay.
longer, no plans to merge any servers. Our servers are very healthy right now, from our side.
I agree. There are many instances of OSIS.
Right,
So
I know.
yeah.
Well, I was
lot
seeing a
of
ton of
people
people
on.
even on the starter worlds. Like I was just starting up Jedi Shadow
That's cool.
today, and saw a ton of people on Tython. It was
Right
awesome.
on.
Cool.
Right on.
Well, it's and also it's a great, like, this is one of those times. That's why any glitchy weird things now is like I've always thought that was the worst because everybody's getting on vacation. I think you got a lot more time to spend, and I
Right.
can throw down 8 hours in a row, and rock it out. So looking forward to sitting down and like running through more content with all my other tunes as well, like on all my alts and stuff.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
good times.
Speaking of alts, by the way, kudos to the environment team for all the OSIS
Yes.
things.
Oh, dude,
all
there's
the
some
Imperial bases.
cool detail stuff
That's
there.
freaking
Yeah,
rad.
they're-
The storms.
Yeah.
So talented. We're so fortunate to have such.
The only
such
thing I
awesome
wanted
people
was that
working on it.
that first shuttle launch when you go out. I wanted to see the environment from there, like in between, because it goes dark and then
when you ride the speeder
yeah,
out.
when you ride the
Yeah.
speeder out. Because I was like, oh, that's
That might be because we're cheating.
there's some.
Yeah.
Come on, I know, but still, you know. it's
Sometimes you
like,
need to have a designer explain how those paths work.
Yeah,
right.
Because when they
There's
explain it to you, you're like, what?
I don't know. Oh, damn it. No. But good stuff, man. It
No.
does look good.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
we will pass that on.
Pass that on. Actually,
Yeah.
we could do a whole nother.
Right? Just on
Just
the
on environment
environment.
and artwork. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And some of the creature, like in
Dude.
some of the
Those
some of the
those
critters
monsters are
and,
rad.
and the monsters.
Right.
Oh, dude,
Right,
some
they
of
turned
those
out
look
so good.
I want
really
those
so
as
happy.
decos. Like if I could buy an army of those little fuckers and put them all around,
Right?
like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah,
All over Manon. Yeah.
Noted.
some cool stuff, man.
Yeah, man. When I can just say, so the storyline has like radioactive mutated Geonosians.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah,
super
that's not too much of a
Geonosian super
spoiler, don't worry.
soldiers.
How
Give
great
me,
is that?
give me something, and then they come back with that, and I'm like, well, I have the best job ever.
Yeah.
It's like that's
This is amazing.
I was like, and big ones too. God
Right?
damn, there's
Yeah.
some big ones
Yeah.
in there. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
son of a wait. I totally got ganked by a group of them. Like,
Yeah, they patrol, man.
because I
Oh,
was
and they pop
standing
up from the ground.
I was
Yeah.
standing around. I was doing a scan, and next thing you know, I'm like, "Oh my god! I just got wiped. What the hell just happened?" Yeah. So mob's doing it to me.
Have you guys done the Heroic 4 yet?
Yeah.
He did.
Oh my
I haven't
God.
done it yet.
Did you do it by yourself the
I
first
did.
time? The first time I did it by myself, I was like, I started at the beginning because we had talked about like, oh, the difficulty's higher, and I'm like,
Whatever.
I got
I
this.
use more than 2 keys.
Whatever.
I think I got
I
this.
got this. And I was at work because we were doing a play test, and I was like, so I'm doing it in the first half. But spoilers for anyone. There's no spoilers, but just you're setting expectations. The first half of it, I'm like, this is fine.
Right.
I got this.
You walk through a tunnel.
Yeah,
I
and then
get-
all of a sudden
okay.
it's just like, and like the objective never changes, and so I'm like, oh, I guess I just walk backwards a little bit, and then I walk backwards, and I'm like, oh shit, what is happening? And I'm using a dev command to kill things, and I literally still died because I couldn't kill things fast enough. It was amazing. It was so good. I was like, this mission's great.
That one is hardcore.
This mission's great.
Yes. It's good to have group content
Yeah,
again.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's really fun to see people digging into it. and
Yeah,
enjoying it.
yeah.
Well, and too, honestly, like to the credit too, I do enjoy the daily area thing, and I do enjoy that sort of that style of gameplay as
Yeah.
well. Because I mean, I've been bitching about that for a little while, as far as like trying to get through a flashpoint when I'm trying to queue for war zones at the same time as a PvP.
I see what you mean.
It makes it really
yeah,
awesome.
this gives you more of that. I can
Flexibility,
stop and go. Yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah.
like I can jump
It's
out.
legit.
I can jump out and do a war zone real fast, and then jump back in
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's
That's legit.
It's much friendlier to the my style of gameplay. So, but a lot of good stuff, man.
Yeah.
But thanks to everybody for
Yes, thank
tuning
you.
in to
Yeah.
the Buvette, man. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank
Thanks,
y'all
thanks
for-
to you guys for
right.
joining us.
Thank you
sure.
for having us.
Yeah,
It's
thank
always
you.
always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, this is the best kind of stream we do because we don't have to do anything.
Right.
We just show up.
And it sort of works, kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
mean, people have been chatting along with us, so
They
I
have.
guess we have been actually. This has been
They've-
broadcast.
I guess they've heard us this whole time.
It's
Okay,
all
cool.
bots.
Yeah.
It's all
Good
bots.
then. Well, that's entirely possible. I mean,
Yeah, it could be
bots.
bots. Yeah,
Yeah,
that looks like a
it
bot. Just
might
all
be a bot.
caps. You're a bot. You're a bot.
Kidley's a bot. Yep,
You're a bot.
sorry.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
totally, he's totally a bot. Yeah, I'm totally a bot. Yeah, I know those. I know those bots though. They're okay bots.
Right.
So,
All right.
but
Well,
thank
happy
you
Life
for,
Day,
Yeah,
everybody.
indeed.
Yeah.
Happy Life Day,
Yep.
and join. Will we be podcast? Yeah, we're still podcasting next week, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta get that taco fund.
I know. God damn. No kidding. I got a bad feeling about this podcast, man. Totally. The Buvette, number 3.
Number 3.
3V.
Three
No,
V.
we discussed
Tres
3V was not the answer. It was
No.
Buvette-toi.
Buvette-toi.
That's it. That's the one.
Buvette-toi.
Man, that sounds exotic.
I know.
Oh,
It sounds
and a
like
little-
something I'd
and a
do with my
little bit
We
wife.
are
sick.
in this exotic.
Let's go back to my
Yes.
porn history now.
It's a
Like,
little bit
that's totally
sexy.
what that's all about. You
Little
know?
bit
Like,
sexy.
Buvette-toi.
Buvette-toi.
No,
Whoa.
I don't bend that way. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, you do.
All right. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you,
We're
everybody.
gonna kill you off now.
Indeed.